Chapter 872. Time flew by. This was a place where the land was gradually formed by black stones. It was as if a giant monster was hibernating and would wake up at any moment. You guys collect some fruits and spirit liquids first. We will enter the Blackstone Seacliff. It has been more than 3 years since we left the rendezvous city, and the journey has been more daunting than dangerous. However, the Blackstone Seacliff is known to be a dangerous place among the countless planes of existence. In the depths of the great world there was a black mass. It felt like a mass of black smoke that could not rise into the sky, pressing down on the sky. More than a dozen mercenary experts were cultivating in a mountain. After a long journey, they began to recuperate as soon as they arrived. However, Su Fang, the Lord of Five Poisons, Li Haojie, and the Green Feather King were responsible for patrolling and collecting all kinds of spiritual items in preparation for the long journey. Tuoba Zhongying's eyes were bright and full of expression as she assigned tasks to the four in detail. The other mercenaries did not pay much attention to the four. To them, the four of them were almost non-existent. "Kid, have you thought carefully about this trip to the Jianwu Villa? It's actually very dangerous for us." At the foot of the mountain, the Lord of Five Poisons and Su Fang were 100 meters away from each other. They were crossing the mountain ridge in search of all kinds of resources. The Lord of Five Poisons collected a few spiritual herbs and secretly communicated with Su Fang with a worried expression. "I think most of the ascenders in the Wu-Tan realm are gathered in the Jianwu Villa. If you want to use the Hu family to deal with Seven Star Child, you will easily cause trouble. I have 2 reasons for going to the Jianwu Villa. First, I want to use the Hu family to deal with Seven Star Child. It would be best if I can kill him. Second, I want the Hu family to find Seven Star Child's exact location in the immortal Ao Great World. Even if the Hu family can't deal with him, I can know Seven Star Child's whereabouts and then deal with him. Otherwise, it will be even more difficult for me to find Seven Star Child, Huang Lingyao, and Xing Chongxing in the vast immortal Ao Great World. Senior, I've thought about this many times. Once we get to the spirit world, we'll part ways there for now. You can find a powerful force to settle down in. After that, I'll focus on finding the Violet Chi Dharma spirit. That's my own business, and I don't know how long it'll take. Kid, you're treating us like outsiders. Finding the Purple Chi Dharma spirit won't delay us. I mentioned this problem before because I wanted you to be extremely cautious. Going to the Jianwu Villa to find the Hu clan is undoubtedly walking into a trap. Senior, how could I not understand your good intentions? The Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit is something that I have always wanted. Furthermore, it's more convenient for me to do things alone. Furthermore, if we all expend our energy on this matter, if anything happens, none of us will be able to lend a helping hand. Splitting up is the best of both worlds. You and Catastrophe will find a large force to cultivate, while I, the Rock King, and the Big Goblin will look for the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit. He could not affect everyone's cultivation in the great world just because of him. This was what Su Fang thought and considered. Green Feather King, Bai Ling, and the Immortal Tortoise could all cultivate with him, but Li Haojie and the Lord of Five Poisons were not the Big Goblin. They needed to cultivate in a quiet environment with a background, conditions. In fact, Su Fang had already planned for this. He could not take everyone with him to find the Purple Chi Dharma spirit. It was really dangerous. The Lord of Five Poisons was silent for a while, then painstakingly dug out an immortal herb from the ground. After staring at it for a while, he transmitted his voice. Seven Star Child is in the immortal Ao Great World. What a coincidence. Generations of ascenders from the Xinyuan Empire have also gone to the immortal Ao Great World. Kid, you might encounter experts from the Xinyuan Empire there. For example, Jing Yuan, who destroyed my physical body hundreds of thousands of years ago, should be living well there. Moreover, the entire Jing clan should know about you. The force behind Immortal Master Ling Xin also wants to obtain the secrets in your hands. The Xinyuan Empire's Jing clan and Immortal Master Ling Xin are both in the Immortal Ao Great World. This surprised Su Fang. He did not care about Immortal Master Ling Xin and the Jing clan at all. After his experience in the Great World, he probably had no contact with them. He did not expect them to be in the Immortal Ao Great World. Moreover, once he stepped into the Immortal Ao Great World, Su Fang would be in danger at all times. He had the secrets of the ethereal true scripture in his hands, and the ethereal true scripture was related to the secrets left behind by the ethereal spiritual master. Immortal Master Ling Xin did not come down to support the Xinyuan Empire and Doichi. His main purpose was to obtain the secrets of the human sovereign's inheritance, and then come down to explore the truth. Now that he knew the rumors were true, if he went back to the Immortal Ao Great World and revealed the secrets, wouldn't there be a large number of immortals looking for him there? Thinking of this, Su Fang felt as if his heart was on tenterhooks. He exhaled, and his whole body tensed up. After spending a few days searching for some resources, he returned to the mountain and met up with King Greenfeather and Li Haojie to hand over the resources to Tuoba Zhongying. Along with the powerful mercenary, the four of them did not reveal anything along the way. They also cultivated cautiously, focusing on condensing immortal power and immortal bodies. They rested for 3 months. On this day, as the mercenary stepped onto his immortal sword, he activated his 30-meter-long sword energy and lifted everyone into the air. Everyone saw the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff gradually appear in front of them. The Blackstone Oceanic Cliff was made of a special kind of black rock. It formed mountains, lakes, valleys, and in the depths, a vast ocean covered the black land. According to Tuoba Zhongying, the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff could be found in various planar worlds, and was a very common danger zone in all planar worlds. No one could say for sure how it was formed, but it was a natural danger zone for planar world. Some planar worlds even had Blackstone Oceanic Cliffs that occupied most of the corners. There were very frightening monster immortals, evil creatures, and poisonous creatures. Experts of the demonic Tao and the heretic sect would often appear in the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff, but righteous Tao cultivators were rarely seen. Therefore, it was very dangerous to pass through the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff. If the mercenary wanted to return to the spirit world as soon as possible, they could only pass through the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff directly. Gradually, they entered the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff on their sword energy. What they felt was a chill, as well as a divine might of nature that shackled their true energy. Most likely, immortals would only be able to use a portion of their strength here. Su Fang was currently using the identity of the demonic Tao's unfettered true devil. Unexpectedly, the shackles he felt on the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff were only a third of what others felt. It was no wonder the demonic Tao and the heretic sect's cultivators liked this place. Whoa! Suddenly, a monster immortal that looked like a chameleon suddenly appeared on the surface of a black river. It looked at the group in the sky and continuously spat out its bloody tongue. The sudden appearance of such a monster caused everyone's hair to stand on end. Tuoba Zhongying introduced, "This is a devil transformation lizard. It's very fast, and it's extremely poisonous. Fortunately, it can't fly, so you don't need to worry. However, as soon as it notices us, it will secretly follow us and ambush us while we're cultivating." A devil transformation lizard. Compared to that Huang? Stupid Mu? Bo? Mu? Mu? Play? Huang Qin Huang? Chopper? If this monster had a pair of wings, then they would be in for a bad time. Everyone was afraid of monsters. Only 2 people were afraid. One was Li Haojie. He was a monster catcher, so he naturally wasn't afraid. The other was Su Fang. He was currently thinking, if we can suppress it and lock it in the second layer of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, we can start capturing a large number of monster immortal commanders in the Great World. Hee hee. It turned out that he was already planning how to strengthen himself. Of course, it was just like in the small world. He could capture as many monsters as he wanted, the more the better. This was the great world, so monsters were naturally more common than in the small world. Right now, I don't need quality, only quantity. After resting, I'll come out with Li Haojie to suppress the monsters. The first layer of the Six Paths Pagoda has nearly 30,000 big goblins. Apart from the 6 big goblins, the others are still in the small world. They won't be able to bring about the crazy power in the great world like in the small world. After making up his mind, he remained silent and obediently followed the mercenaries into the depths of the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff. Gradually, they realized that the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff was really vast and boundless. Its surface area was 100 times bigger than Extradition City. Not only did it have all kinds of landforms, it also had an ocean. After flying slowly for a few months, Tuoba Zhongying finally decided to rest in a canyon. Otherwise, she was afraid that her true qi would be completely exhausted if she continued to travel. When they arrived at the canyon, the surroundings were cold and even frozen. The group of mercenaries worked together to form hand seals and released immortal stones, creating a barrier at the bottom of the canyon. Tuoba Zhongying then asked the 4 of them to go out. Be careful when you go out. Don't wake up any monsters or evil cultivators. There's a very common spiritual plant growing in the Blackstone Oceanic Cliff. It's called the Blackstone Orchid. It has a very special life aura and spiritual energy. Search for this treasure in the surroundings. The Blackstone Orchid. Since they were lacking in resources, the 4 of them immediately flew out of the canyon and arrived at the cold land where the sea breeze was blowing. The sea breeze smelled a little fishy, but it was more of an evil aura. The Lord of 5 Poisons and the Green Feather King traveled together. Su Fang was naturally with Li Haojie. The search for the Blackstone Orchids was left to the sect leader and the Rock King. While the 2 of them were searching for the Blackstone Orchids, they were also searching for the Big Goblin. Buzz. After going a few miles deeper, he suddenly sensed a wave of demonic qi flickering in front of him. Demon and he was a Yao immortal. Su Fang and Li Haojie gradually approached the demonic aura. In front of them was a trench, not a canyon. It was not as deep as a canyon. It seemed to have been torn apart by the force of nature. Brother Fang, there are 3 demonic immortals and Huang? Making love in bed? Brother Hui? Bungling Pingxiang? Dianai? Star Xiexing Delta Trench Cellar? Frame, alright, I'll use the Primordial Chaos Sacred Realm, while you use the Elemental Suppression and Monster Transformation Heavenly Book. You can use the power of the Heavenly Book to deal with the 3 demons. I'll use the Primordial Chaos Sacred Realm to subdue the 3 demons. Alright. The 2 of them nodded. Li Haojie suddenly came to the top of the trench and pressed down with both hands. A wave of the Blood Curse Heavenly Book could not spread more than 10 feet under the sea breeze. This way, the immortals who were a few miles away could not sense it. Tut, tut, tut. 3 waves of the Blood Curse Heavenly Book's aura instantly fell into the trench. Roar. They were 3 demons that looked like giant squirrels. They could be considered demonic immortals, but none of them could transform into a human form. They were natives of a great world. When they were born in a great world, they had the power of a great world. However, they had to cultivate like the creatures of a great world to be able to shed their shells and transform. The 3 monsters only had strength, but not many mystical abilities. Bang! Bang! With a series of trembling screams, the 3 monsters struggled at the bottom of the trench. They were shackled by the Blood Curse Heavenly Book, and their power came from the Elemental Suppression and Monster Transformation Heavenly Book. The 3 monsters could not break free. Whoosh! Su Fang appeared on one side and clapped his hands. A red glow enveloped the 3 monsters at the same time. Not long after struggling for a while, the 3 monsters transmitted their thoughts. They could not bear the pain brought about by the shackles of the primordial chaos sacred realm and surrendered one after another. They obediently allowed Su Fong to plant a seal mark on them. As soon as the monster came out, its strength would be comparable to Desolate's? Making love in bed? What? Sieve and carries? Ruan Jian Ruan Ping Gat Robber Sigma Arm Shield Long. But in this vast great world, they were demon immortals who lived at the lowest level. Chapter 873. Master, spare us. Spare us. We submit. We submit. After the three monsters were sealed, they crawled out of the earth trench and knelt in front of Su Fong, begging for mercy. Su Fong activated the power of the seal, causing the three monsters to tremble. I will not kill you. From now on, you will serve me. Be obedient and do not betray me. Yes, yes. The monsters were truly afraid. Are there any more monsters nearby? Yes. There is a deep abyss in front of us. There are more than 10 earth devil demons living there. They can burrow underground and are our natural enemies. There are many of them, but they are not strong. Are there any blackstone orchids? Or are there any other treasures nearby? There are many blackstone orchids in that abyss. Furthermore, the earth devil demons seem to have obtained a special type of blackstone orchids. After eating them, their strength would constantly increase. A few of them are even stronger than us. Alright, only a few of them are slightly stronger. Bring us there and help me suppress them. If they could capture more than 10 monsters in this Blackstone Sea Cliff with the strength of demon immortals, Su Fong's strength would naturally increase by another level. Furthermore, there were many Blackstone orchids. The two of them followed behind the three monsters and left the earth trench. 2 miles ahead, there was indeed an abyss. It was not a canyon, but a true abyss that was bottomless. The interior was not black, but had a dark red luster. It reflected the abyss so much that they could see many things with their physical bodies. Su Fong summoned Zhu Huang, Tong Tian Demon Venerable, 9-section Earth Dragon, 9-headed Demon King, Wooling Goblin, and Brute Force Demon King. The Undying Tortoise and Bai Ling also came out to help deal with the big goblin. Not only did they come to help, if they could really obtain blackstone orchids, they could also eat them. After entering the canyon, the three monsters led them to a deep abyss that was dozens of feet deep. They did not expect the inside to become more spacious, but the bottom was still bottomless. At the bottom of the abyss, there was a nest that formed a cave. More than 10 demonic auras came from the cave. They should be the earth devil demons. Su Fong and Li Haojie sensed it at the same time. They found that the earth demonic Yao was a crawling monster covered in scales. Its strength was indeed stronger than the 3 demonic immortals, but it couldn't be that strong. Once the order was given, Su Fong, Li Haojie, and the big goblin moved together. The other side had 14 goblins, while Su Fong's side also had more than 10 experts. He slowly arrived at the cave. The earth demonic Yao was currently sleeping, and he could see some human bones as well as a few Dao artifacts scattered around. Pa. One after another, the big goblins suddenly released their true bodies and charged into the cave in their demonic forms, entangling the earth demonic beast. Li Haojie released more than a dozen blood curse heavenly tomes. Although they were not as powerful as before, the more blood curse heavenly tomes there were, the weaker their power would be. The Wooling Goblin transformed into its true body and used its rock belt to entangle an earth devil demon. The 9-headed Demon King was even more powerful. It entangled 3 earth devil demons at once. Together with the blood curse heavenly tomes, they could completely suppress the earth devil demons until they couldn't break free. Su Fong then activated his Chaos Essence Sacred Mirror and started to shine it on them one by one. This was the power of the demon revealing mirror. It made the earth devil demons feel pain. Su Fong then used his seal to shackle them one by one. In less than half a day, he had suppressed more than 10 earth devil demons. Together with the 3 demons from before, Su Fang now had 17 demons from the Great World on the second level of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. They were equivalent to 17 virtual immortals. An earth devil demon with a dazzling black armor knelt in front of Su Fang. Master, there are large amounts of blackstone orchids in the abyss on both sides of the canyon. We usually harvest them once every 100 years. The blackstone orchids ripen once every 100 years. All of you, go and search for blackstone orchids. Harvest as many as you can. Su Fang ordered the other earth devil demons. He then led Li Haojia, the undying turtle, and the big goblin to the 2 sides. Su Fang looked at the big goblin. I heard that you have very special blackstone orchids here. The earth devil demon answered honestly, yes, but there are very few of them. They are in the deepest part of the abyss. Not only are there blackstone orchids, but there are also some black sea stones that can only be found in the Blackstone Sea Cliff. There are such treasures in black sea stones? The big goblin continued, black sea stones are also a type of immortal stone. They are different from common immortal stones. Black sea stones are only found in the Blackstone Sea Cliff, and there are not many of them. Throughout history, there have been cultivators who have come to search for them. I heard from humans that black sea stones can be used to refine treasures, giving them special powers. Black sea stones are very rare and very valuable. Alright, bring me down. His luck was pretty good this time. He had captured the big goblin and obtained the blackstone orchid's petrification and other treasures. The earth devil demon carried Su Fang and quickly crawled into the abyss. Monsters had very strong survivability in this place, and they were also familiar with all kinds of auras. There were many poisonous creatures in the abyss, and once they came into contact with these poisonous creatures, they would not be able to survive. After about half an hour, they arrived at the bottom of the abyss. There was actually an undercurrent that formed an underground river that flowed at a normal speed. This river water could instantly freeze virtual immortals and kill immortals. The earth devil demon was used to this kind of river water. Half of his body was dripping with water. After passing through the stone caves on both sides of the abyss, there was indeed a wide and flat area in front of him. He saw that there were white stalks of flowers that were emitting spiritual light and were growing on the rocks like moss. The flowers were only as tall as a finger, and they were wrapped around the rocks. Almost every piece of rock had one flower. When they arrived at this flat area, Su Fang plucked one of the flowers and placed it in his palm. However, before he could activate it, the blackstone lotus melted into his palm like ice. Su Fang was startled at first, and then he sighed. How mysterious! I don't need to refine it directly. The big goblin obediently followed beside him. The blackstone orchids are just that mysterious. However, their spiritual energy is not very abundant, and their vitality is also ordinary. Still, they are very good treasures in the Blackstone Sea Cliff. Let's collect them first. He used his Emperor's aura to control the blackstone orchids on the rocks, and collected them one by one into his palm. At that moment, a faint whirlwind suddenly appeared around the Emperor's aura that Su Fang released. How strange! Why is it that when I release my Emperor's aura, I feel like there's a divine power that repels me? Master, this place is indeed strange. The blackstone orchids here are much stronger than in other places. I just don't know what's going on. The big goblin also came over to watch the show. Let's sense it more deeply. Perfect realm ability. He first collected all the blackstone orchids, and then he began to release his sensing ability from the outside to the inside. At that moment, he only felt a silent chill, as well as an evil aura. There didn't seem to be anything special about this place. He once again merged with his world energy. He had just merged with his world energy, allowing his sensing ability to possess the world's aura. This kind of control ability had reached a whole new level. He hadn't expected it to actually be useful. he discovered that there was a faint but very clear world essence between the ground and the cliff. His sensing ability gradually reached him. In front of the cliff there were a few rocks on the ground. They didn't seem very eye-catching, but there was a very shocking world essence coming from them. Furthermore, the world essence coming from these rocks flowed from the ground towards the cliff. It was as if there was some kind of energy within the cliff that was absorbing the world essence. It wasn't very fast, but it was slowly flowing towards the cliff. It seems to be a formation that has merged with the world's aura. How strange. Could there be some kind of treasure or secret sealed here? Could the world essence be a world treasure? Could it be those origin soul essences and origin primal stones from the lower world? When he sensed this result, Su Fang's heart suddenly exploded. World treasure. Could his luck be so good that he could encounter a world treasure here? If he obtained it, wouldn't it be perfect for him to cultivate a world fragment? He carefully approached the cliff and found that there were some blackstone orchids growing on the rock. The blackstone orchids actually didn't have much to do with the rocks. They were just a kind of plant that was born from absorbing the strange spiritual chi of the Blackstone Sea cliff. They didn't contain much earth essence. After collecting the blackstone orchids, Su Fang followed the path of the world essence that flowed into the cliff. He condensed sword chi and began to cut the cliff. Not to mention, the rock was really tough. After a dozen cuts, he only managed to leave a small mark on it. But for the sake of finding the treasure, Su Fang continued to chew on it. Perhaps it really was as he had imagined, an astonishing world treasure. After several hours, he only managed to cut 3 meters of rock. However, there was still some distance to go. Su Fang was using his great ability to continue cutting when he suddenly felt a slight tremor coming from the rock in front of him and under his feet. What's going on? The tremor came so suddenly that Su Fang wondered if a treasure had appeared. Right now, his mind was filled with thoughts of treasures. Crack! Crack! Before he could figure it out, a crack suddenly appeared on the cliff. Moreover, it was on the cliff that he had cut. There were no other movements in the surroundings. The crack became more and more deafening. His feet also began to shake like an earthquake. And Master! Earth Devil Yao began to retreat in fright. Su Fang also felt that something was wrong. Could the treasure inside be alive? Just as he was about to dodge, he suddenly heard a loud tremor. A fierce force had created a hole in the cliff. Su Fang trembled and looked through the flying rocks. There was actually a seal floating inside. The seal was immortal radiance. Within the immortal radiance, there was a sword and a cultivator sitting cross-legged. A living person. It couldn't be. How could he be so unlucky? Su Fangdao was complaining. He actually encountered a cultivator. No, it was an immortal. What was an immortal doing here? He was obviously cultivating in seclusion. Su Fang had disturbed his cultivation. Once the other party woke up, wouldn't his head be chopped off? He quickly ran away. Where do you think you're going? Little did he know. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. An immortal radiance immediately shackled the area in front of Su Fang. It was as if everything had stopped. Su Fang couldn't move at all. Earth Devil Yao was so scared that he almost wet himself. In the blink of an eye, a black-clothed man appeared in front of him. No, it was a young man. He was only 17 years old. He had a sturdy body and was 2 meters tall. He had the body of a cheetah. Moreover, this young man was extremely beautiful. It felt like he had a delicate face that only a woman would have. Su Fang's first impression of this young man was that he was flirtatious, like a character from a painting. The young man was also sizing up Su Fang. Su Fang hurriedly explained, "This junior came here to collect blackstone orchids and black sea stones. I didn't know that senior was cultivating here. Disturbing senior is truly a great crime. Please forgive this junior's unintentional actions." The black-clothed young man asked with a cold expression, "Don't talk so much nonsense. I just want to know how you found me inside." I just felt that the spirit chi inside was especially abundant. It was as if all the aura here was rushing towards Senior. This junior discovered it by accident and began to act. That's why I disturbed Senior's cultivation. I was indeed cultivating here. However, you didn't answer the main point. With my cultivation, it's impossible for ordinary immortals to sense me. Why aren't you telling me the truth? Could it be that he had to say that it was because he had activated the world fragment? Su Fang suddenly had a solution in the next second. He explained, I won't hide it from Senior. This junior is an ascender and can be considered a realm master in the lower realm. I cultivated the power of the world. It was because I sensed that this place contained some power of the world that I discovered Senior. Chapter 874. Ascender. The black-robed youth was shocked. Immediately, he looked at Su Fang's body with surprise and curiosity. Suddenly, he was even more surprised. You're a calamity realm flying immortal. Su Fang was shocked. He did not expect the youth to see through him. However, he had protected his other secret. He could only answer truthfully. Senior, I'm indeed a calamity realm flying immortal. I just ascended and left the ascension pool. Those above are also ascenders. The youth suddenly raised his head. Could it be he also saw Li Haojia, the Lord of Five Poisons, Green Feather King, Bai Ling, and other big goblin? Yes, we came from the upper domain together. You have some ability to ascend to the upper domain as a flying immortal. I haven't met someone like you in a long time. Interesting. Senior, please forgive my unintentional actions. Did I say I would punish you? No, you didn't. Su Fang was rooted to the ground like a block of wood. You're an ascender and a domain lord. Your Dantian does have a shocking amount of world power, but it's from the lower domain. You're a lower domain cultivator, yet you can control such a shocking amount of world power. You've already surpassed many immortals in the upper domain. You're even able to ascend to the upper domain as a flying immortal. The black-robed youth's eyes suddenly became spirited and mysterious. It seems like you were able to meet me and wake me up in advance. This is fate. Brother Fang. At this moment, Li Haojia led a group of big goblin over. Even the Lord of Five Poisons and Green Feather King were among them. It seemed like there was some movement in the deep abyss, and these two experts had rushed over to help. Su Fang hurriedly waved to everyone. Everyone, don't panic. I'm fine. This senior is cultivating here. Don't disturb him. The youth said, You said you came from the Ascension Pool because it's the Ascension Pool. I vaguely remember that in 100 years, there should be envoys from the 8 different factions in the Yuan Lu Great World who would sneak into the Ascension Pool to receive you ascenders and bring you to your factions to cultivate. Why don't you have any envoys to lead the way? Junior, our talents are ordinary. How could we be favored by the immortals? Instead, we met a dozen or so powerful mercenaries. We were protected by them and went to the immortal world in the spirit world to seek stability before making any plans. Ordinary aptitude. The 4 of you and those 6 monsters are not simple at all. You all possess a certain amount of world energy. After the young man heard this, he exposed Su Fang's words. It seems like the various factions in the Yuan Lu Great World are so powerful that they do not care about the people who ascended from the lower domain, or are they rejecting the people who ascended from the lower domain? He then looked at Su Fang and swept his gaze over the others. Your aptitudes are extraordinary. All of you are in small worlds and have begun to come into contact with the power of the world. Once you enter a large force, your achievements will definitely be astonishing. Seeing that all of you are fated with me, I will make an exception today and directly accept registered disciples outside. Regardless of whether you are a human or a big goblin, you can all follow me in cultivation. When Su Fang heard this, while the others were shocked, Su Fong hurriedly transmitted a message to everyone. Good chance, good chance. It is indeed a good chance. The Lord of Five Poisons transmitted a message. This person is very powerful and very mysterious. He has an impressive appearance. He must be a dragon among men. If we can be valued by this person and become his guide, not only will we be able to establish ourselves in the Yuan Lu Great World, but we will also be able to cultivate quickly and become stronger. Su Fong was very anxious. Leader, Brother Haojie, the two of you must seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As for the others, they can also choose. Do not miss out on such a good opportunity. There was a moment of silence. The Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie flew down from above and bowed to the mysterious black-clothed young man. The two of us are willing to follow you in your cultivation and become your disciples. All right. The black-clothed young man was a swift and decisive person. After he nodded, he was full of admiration for the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie. Then, he bent his finger and led them above their head. Then, he looked at Su Fong and took out an immortal talisman. Someone will find you soon. If they want to make things difficult for you, you can hand this talisman to them. If you are connected in the future, you can come to the White Cloud Immortal World. Whoosh! After he finished speaking, a talisman flew in front of Su Fong. The black-clothed young man actually waved his hand and disappeared into thin air with the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie. There was no trace, no passage, and no array. This speed? Was this speed? It was equivalent to teleportation in a small world, which countless big shots could control. Have they left? I wonder how many years it will be before we meet again. The Green Feather King slowly descended with Bai Ling, the Undying Tortoise, Zhu Huang, and the other big goblin. The Rock King looked around. There was no ripple in the cold world. He suddenly felt a little worried. After being together with the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie for so many years, they had already become a family. It was very sad for them to be separated so suddenly. Everyone understood that everyone had their own path of cultivation. They had just stepped into the great world, and there was no guarantee that they would survive. It was also impossible for them to follow Su Fong to find the Purple Cloud Dharma spirit. It was indeed a great opportunity to meet an expert like the black-clothed young man. The Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie were very decisive and did not hesitate to seize this opportunity. White Cloud Immortal World. Su Fong held the immortal talisman and suddenly felt a little dazed. Suddenly, the origin spirit of the small universe immortal pot appeared in front of everyone and said with a shocked tone, "Master, you really missed a great opportunity. Why is the White Cloud Immortal World extraordinary?" Su Fong was puzzled. Of course it is extraordinary. The White Cloud Immortal World is the strongest immortal world in the Yuan Fortune world. It is one of the few strongest immortal worlds. Especially this White Cloud Immortal World, it is an immortal world and a great power. It is called the White Cloud Immortal Palace. White Cloud Immortal Palace. After the origin spirit finished speaking, the surrounding earth demonic demons exclaimed. An earth demonic demon immediately said, "It is indeed powerful. The White Cloud Immortal Palace is one of the strongest powers in the Yuan Fortune world. Not only in the Yuan Fortune world, but also in the Deqian Immortal World, the Sky-Bearing Great World, and the Immortal Ao Great World. This is a great world, a true great power. Any disciple of the White Cloud Immortal Palace is powerful and invincible." He did not expect the black-clothed young man to have such an extraordinary background. Looking at the immortal pattern in his hand, Su Fong felt that he had missed a great opportunity to change his life. It could be said that he had reached the heavens in a single step. However, he smiled in front of the shocked big goblin. The White Cloud Immortal Palace has really been missed. However, it is enough for the sect leader and brother Haojie to cultivate there. With them around, once they become stronger, it is equivalent to increasing our overall strength. Bai Ling smiled and said, In the future, we will also become peerless figures on our own. Alright, let's start looking for black sea stones. In the future, when we reach the spirit world, we can buy Tao artifacts and other materials. Now that things had come to this, it was better to accept it as it was. Su Fang let the earth demonic demons lead everyone to search for rare immortal stones. He went to the broken cliff cave where the black-clothed young man was cultivating. In some of the fragments, he found that each fragment contained a very shocking and familiar power of the world. Moreover, it was far above his own. This means that the black-clothed young man also has a fragment of the world. Even if he does not have a fragment of the world, he can control such power of the world. He is most likely an absolute powerhouse. He saw it. He saw the reason why the black-clothed young man was hiding here. He was cultivating in seclusion here, or fusing with the power of the world. The black-clothed young man, like Su Fang, was a cultivator of the world that surpassed most cultivators. Su Fang collected all the fragments. The remaining power of the world could also increase his strength. In the end, he flew out of the abyss with the big goblin. Except for Green Feather Monarch, the other big goblins followed by Ling and entered the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. The two returned to the canyon and handed over many black stone orchids to Tuoba Zhongying, which made the mercenaries very unhappy. In the following days, Su Fang and Green Feather Monarch also cultivated in the canyon. It seemed that their strength did not change much. Suddenly, there was a movement in his body. It was still a very strange movement. He took it out. It was a rune talisman that the black-clothed young man gave him before he left. Why was there a sudden movement? Could it be? Su Fang was about to stop cultivating when he suddenly saw a vast expanse of white in front of him. Green Feather Monarch was gone, and so were the mercenaries. It seemed that he was no longer in the canyon. They left so quickly. A very cold voice of a young man suddenly appeared in the vast expanse of white. Who is it? Su Fang quickly stood up and looked around. He found it. In the vast expanse of white in front of him, a masked woman in a white dress suddenly appeared. This woman seemed to come from above the 9 heavens, as if she did not belong to the mortal world. She blended into this vast expanse of white. Every breath she took was enough to make the white world fall into her control. Although he could not see her face clearly, he was sure that this woman must have a peerless beauty. Her icy face could make the world fall in love with her. The woman in the white dress had an idea. She looked at Su Fang sharply and coldly. Where is Bai Hua? Who is it? Su Fang was confused. The one who gave him to the rune talisman. It's him. Are you talking about the black-clothed youth from White Cloud Immortal Palace? The black-clothed youth, So you are an immortal who ascended from the lower realm. The black-clothed youth you speak of is a big shot from White Cloud Immortal Palace, whose name shook countless great worlds. He is Immortal Lord Bai Hua. He has cultivated for 1,000,000 years and has an immortal body. Immortal Lord Bai Hua. So the black-clothed youth was the Bai Hua she spoke of. An immortal who had cultivated for 1,000,000 years. Su Fang suddenly came back to his senses. This junior really does not know Senior Bai Hua's origins. He gave me this rune talisman before he left. He said that someone would come. It must be Senior. So he knows that I have been looking for him for 1,000 years. He has been cultivating in this Blackstone sea cliff for 1,000 years. The mysterious woman sighed and asked again, Did he leave any words? Not a single word. Just this immortal rune. Senior, please take it. Forget it. He did not say anything. He just did not want to see me. He left this rune talisman to fool me. You can keep it. He probably wants you to join his White Cloud Immortal Palace. Why don't you go? Everyone has their own ambitions. I have my own path to walk. What an ambitious cultivator. No wonder Bai Hua would give you this rune talisman. Take it with you. When you go to the White Cloud Immortal World, this rune talisman can help you. Even when you go to other great worlds, if you run into trouble, you can use this rune talisman to help you out. Whoosh! After the woman finished speaking, she turned around and disappeared into the white world. Su Fong trembled. He could not help but look around. The white world was gone. He was still in the valley, and there were still dozens of mercenaries. Even Green Feather Monarch was cultivating next to him. Was he dreaming? If he was not dreaming, why was he just now? The voice of the mini-universe Immortal Gord's original soul came from his body. Master, you were shackled into a powerful precept dominion. That is, the precept dominion formed by the deity form. Then, you reach the supreme space. An immortal who can control a precept dominion is definitely an immortal. I have never seen such an immortal. Chapter 875. Tao Domain. Could it be that cultivating a domain and possessing a Tao domain above the divine manifestation realm was so abnormal? Su Fong was confident in his strength and ability, but he was silently controlled by the other party. This feeling of helplessness was like gouging his heart again and again. The difference was too shocking. If this person wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Drops of cold sweat had already seeped down his neck. Master, immortals who possess Tao domains are true experts in the outside world. I heard that when one cultivates a domain to the extreme, they will possess a Tao domain. A Tao domain is like a world that cultivators possess. Therefore, once you enter a Tao domain, you will completely fall into the immortal's control. Unless you have greater strength to break it, your body and mind will forever be shackled in the Tao domain. I deeply feel that White Cloud Immortal Palace's White Transformation Immortal Lord and that veiled woman are too abnormal. They are 100 times stronger than 7-Star Child, Immortal Master Ling Xian, Xian Daotian, Jing Suifeng, and Jing Beiwang. More than 100 times, more than 10,000 times. Master, you have to be careful of Black Rock Seacliff. Why? Since ancient times, in countless planes and outside worlds, all kinds of cultivators like to hide in Black Rock Seacliff to cultivate. This place is secluded, dangerous, and has many wonderful treasures. Who knows how many experts are hiding here? You mean that big shots like White Transformation Immortal Lord are everywhere? Not everywhere, but there are definitely experts like Master Yu. The main thing is that you have to be very careful. Not everyone is like White Transformation Immortal Lord, thinking about White Cloud Immortal Palace and sending talents to their faction when they see an ascender. Although this subordinate is an ordinary Tao artifact, and does not know about experts like White Transformation Immortal Lord, I still know a thing or two about these ordinary matters. Most people are still dangerous. The mini-universe Immortal Pot explained. So Black Rock Seacliff is this dangerous. It was all thanks to the Tao artifact's warning. He did not expect Black Rock Seacliff to be so cold-blooded. He sat down cross-legged. The others still did not notice anything unusual. It was as if nothing had happened. Su Fong and Green Feather King continued to cultivate. As for Tuoba Zhongying, he found that the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie were missing. He said that there was no news of them. Tuoba Zhongying did not say anything. Of course, he felt that the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie, the two ascenders, could not leave Black Rock Seacliff alive. After resting for a while, the mercenary brought the two of them out again. As they gradually entered the depths of the Blackstone Seacliff, they could see the Black Sea. There were all sorts of black monsters that looked like mountain ridges. It was hard to tell if they were monsters or something else. The aura also became colder and colder. Su Fong and Green Feather King's bodies would freeze from time to time. Only when they crossed the sea and entered a large number of black mountain ridges did they feel better. Russell, everyone was still very relaxed. Along the way, they really didn't encounter much trouble. At this moment, a special gust of wind suddenly swept through the dark, cold air around them. Tuoba Zhongying immediately transmitted a message to everyone. This is bad. It seems like we are being followed by something. Everyone, activate your Dao artifacts and get ready to attack at any time. After he finished speaking, huge black shadows suddenly appeared behind him. They were monsters that looked like falcons. Above the monsters, there were cultivators in black robes and headscarf. The cultivators exuded an evil power that was different from devil chi. The cultists have escaped. Who would have thought that these people would appear so suddenly and catch them off guard? After Tuoba Zhongying shouted, he and the others activated their sword chi and quickly flew toward the mountain ridges. You won't be able to escape. It just so happens that we're lacking some righteous cultivators to cultivate evil technique. The experts of the cultists quickly chased after them on their monsters. My lord, we actually encountered so many experts of the cultists. I wonder which cult they are from. This Blackstone Seacliff is close to several immortal worlds. One of them is the 10,000 Conqueror sect. They should be the cultists. If it really is the 10,000 Conqueror sect, then it will be troublesome. Although that cult has only recently risen in many great worlds, rumor has it that their leader is very powerful. Furthermore, the 10,000 Conqueror sect also has a large number of cultists. Mercenaries like us won't be able to deal with them. Run. The mercenaries discussed with each other. Their voices and expressions were filled with dread. Tuoba Zhongying waved his hand, and his sword chi increased in speed once more. But Su Fang and Green Feather King looked behind them and saw that the cultists from the 10,000 Conqueror sect were moving faster and faster. The monsters they were riding were not as sturdy as normal falcons. Instead, they were slender and didn't seem to have any muscles. They were just bones. Thus, the monsters were extremely fast. They were less than a mile away. It was dangerous. Their hearts skipped a beat. Wisps of evil immortal glows combined into hand seals and pressed down from the sky. Bang! This handprint was created by combining the power and mana of more than a dozen evil cult masters. Its power was boundless. When it hit the air behind the mercenaries, a shockwave completely shattered the sword chi. One by one, the mercenaries fell to the dark ground. They had encountered a tough opponent. Everyone, run in different directions. Every single one of you that escapes count. Then we'll meet at the Immortal World's headquarters in the Spirit World. Tuoba Zhongying called out his immortal sword and shouted at the surrounding mercenaries. Whoosh! One by one, the mercenary experts unleashed their various Dao artifacts and flew in all directions at low altitude. Now, only Tuoba Zhongying, Su Fang, and Green Feather King remained. However, the two of them had lost their balance and were unable to struggle back up. Tuoba Zhongying looked at them coldly. It's up to you. Don't blame me. As long as you fly out of this Blackstone Seacliff, you can spend some money and find quite a few mercenaries to take you to the spirit world. There's an extremely terrifying abyss up ahead. Don't go there. Abyss Valley. The two of them did not understand. With a shudder, Tuoba Zhongying rode his sword and fled to the center of the mountain ridge ahead. The experts from the Divine Capital's invincible sect also scattered, riding their monsters to chase after them. However, the remaining two cultists stared at Su Fang and Green Feather King. Run! Su Fang activated a seal. A black belt of stone appeared below. It was the Wooling Goblin's main body. It carried the immortals in the air, and then fled towards the cold, ruined ground. They were too slow and could not compare to the mercenaries and cultists. They could only escape from the ground. The two cultists chased after them with murderous intent. They definitely would not overtake them. That falcon-like monster was too fast. Fortunately, when the Wooling Goblin reached a low altitude, it suddenly sped up. It was probably able to control some of the earth spirit chi in the Blackstone Seacliff. When it saw some bottomless crevices, it quickly drilled into them. The two cultists hesitated for a moment, but still chased after it. Once they entered the underground fissure, they arrived at a world of cold air and a terrifying gray abyss. Black Ridge Demon King was still able to determine the direction in time even though it was holding the two of them. It seemed that Earth-type monsters were omnipotent here, far more so than humans. Even so, the two heard the cultists getting closer and closer. Especially Su Fang, he could hear less than 100 meters away. If it were not for the large number of other spaces in the depths of the crevice that were connected to it, they would have been caught if they went in a straight line. This stalemate lasted for half an hour. They did not know how far they had gone. Suddenly, the speed of the wooling goblin slowed down. Su Fang's hair also seemed to be about to stand up. Su Fang looked around. This was a large underground tearing zone. It was dark, but he felt as if something was looking at him. Life Spirit and Devil Chi. Su Fang hurriedly used his great perfection ability. Especially when he focused his vision, he saw a piece of stone that seemed to be slowly squirming. Was it a stone? Chi. Suddenly, an evil flame flashed from behind. With a trace of blood chi, this flame came and hit Su Fang and Greenfeather King. Then, it suddenly lit up the space. The two cultists smugly rushed in. Just as they were about to attack, they felt that some black stones suddenly stood up around them. The cultists also felt it. They looked around and quickly turned around to run away in fear. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! In the blink of an eye, 3 blood tongues came from both sides. In the blink of an eye, the two cultists and the falcon-like monster were entangled. This, Su Fang and Greenfeather King floated up. He absorbed the wooling goblin into his body. Then, while there was still a part of the evil flame, he looked around. First, he saw the two cultists being shackled and the falcon being slowly moved by the 3 blood tongues. The source of the blood tongues was a black creature. Whoosh whoosh, something is wrong. Run. Just as Su Fang and Greenfeather King had this thought, they moved. Suddenly, 3 dancing blood tongues came at them. They were like the tongues of a fire-tongued monster. One of the cultists sighed in panic. What bad luck! We actually ran into food. There are demons here. The other cultists also looked around helplessly. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. Then, a demonic light suddenly rose. In front of the two cultists and the falcon monster, a black monster suddenly appeared. The monster was more than 10 meters tall. It had an oval body, a bit bigger than a bucket. It had 3 pairs of hands. One pair of hands was on the ground, while the other 2 slowly moved up and down with the body. Apart from the 3 pairs of hands and its oval body, this monster had no eyes. It only had a big mouth. What was even more strange was that there were 3 blood tongues moving in its mouth. From time to time, it would drip poisonous saliva. When it fell on the rocks began to corrode. What is this monster? Su Fang and Greenfeather King felt a chill down their spines. They had never seen such a monster before. Was it a monster? Such a big mouth, 3 powerful blood tongues, and poison? Just what kind of monster was this? Master, this is food. Food! The little universe immortal pot said. Everyone in the great world knows about food. It comes from the devil race. It is the mount of the devil race's cultivators, as well as a raised devil beast. Food is also called a devil beast. It is inseparable from the devil Dao cultivators and lives in the evil devil land. So it's a monster from the devil race. No wonder it has some devil chi. Su Fang sized up food once more. The feeling he got was that food wasn't very powerful. It was just that it was a bit ugly and terrifying. Master, don't underestimate food. It is an existence that everyone in the great world is afraid of. It is filled with poison that is nearly impossible to neutralize. Furthermore, it is not afraid of poison. Its digestive power is astonishing. It will eat anything. It has always swallowed cultivators and demons. And this is just ordinary food. I heard that there is an even more powerful food that can devour the essence of the world. Damn, my luck is too bad. Su Fang cursed inside. Swish, swish. Suddenly, 3 blood tongues wrapped around Su Fong and Green Feather King. Furthermore, the saliva coming from the blood tongues began to corrode their skin. Another burst of demonic light erupted. There were over a dozen food monsters standing around. Chapter 876. Eclipse. When they saw Eclipse before, they didn't think much of it. But now, there were more than a dozen eclipses floating around. Their mouths were slightly sticking out 3 bloody tongues. Demonic chi and poisonous gas were constantly spewing out from their mouth. There were also sharp fangs that looked like sunflowers. An immortal probably wouldn't be able to last long before being swallowed by Eclipse. At this moment, there was a feeling of being on the verge of death. Su Fong secretly transmitted, "Senior Pring King, let's not move recklessly. If these eclipses wanted to kill us, they would have already done so. They wouldn't just surround us and deal with the poisonous gas in secret. When I have the chance, I will use Blood Ghost True Demon and enter Senior's body to absorb the poison. Let's wait first." Green Feather King also calmed down. The 2 cultists were also under Feed's control, and just like that, they waited in the cold space along with Feed in silence. After half a day, suddenly, some black-clothed people appeared. They were all strange people wearing ghost masks and blood-red robes. "Ghostface Sect, it really is you." The 2 evil sect experts were scared out of their wits when they saw these strange people. One of them was a thin and ordinary masked man. He faintly glanced at them. "Your Divine Capital's Myriad Sect, a third-rate evil sect, still dares to provoke my Ghostface Sect in this Blackstone Sea cliff. You overestimate yourselves trying to smash a rock with an egg. Divine Capital's Myriad Sect, what are you doing here? Your Ghostface Sect is far away in the depths of the Yuan Fortune Great World." The skinny devil said, "You don't need to worry about what we're doing here. The Blackstone Ocean Cliff has always been a place for us devils to cultivate. Evil cults like you are nothing. I'm going to ask you now, and you'd better answer truthfully. Otherwise, I'll refine you into human devils or feed you to me. As long as you let us go, we will do anything. A while ago, an extraordinary spiritual item appeared here. I heard it contained demonic chi. It was the birth of my devil race's spiritual item, causing many loose devils to fight over it. One loose devil obtained it, but rumor has it that the heavenly devil was captured by your Divine Capital's Myriad Sect. That is true, but the rumor is false. We couldn't capture that devil at all. He fled into the abyss near Blackstone Sea Cliff. We searched for him a few times but couldn't find him. But the truth. Of course, we also want to live. Then wait until we catch the loose devil in the Valley of the Abyss and obtain that fey, then we'll release you." All right. In the face of the powerful demon's stern voice, the 2 evil cult's experts could only nod and bow. "Everyone, come in. Who knew?" This thin devil suddenly waved his hand, and a wave of devil chi engulfed the 2 evil cult experts, as well as Su Fong and Green Feather King. Immediately, he disappeared into the devil chi. A ring on the devil's left hand suddenly emitted a demonic halo. It turned out that he had activated the magic tool and sucked the 4 of them into the magic tool's space. What sucked? It was simply throwing. Su Fong and Green Feather King only felt light as a feather. Suddenly, there was a bit of dazzling light. With 2 papa sounds, they crashed onto the ground, rolling and crawling. After a moment of dizziness, he felt that his surroundings were too quiet. Su Fong probably also knew where he was. When he looked around, he was only slightly surprised. Green Feather King signaled Su Fong to look to the other side. It turned out that there were dozens of cultivators there, both righteous and evil. They could only sit cross-legged in the darkness under the pressure of the demonic chi. The 2 carefully went to the side and saw that the 2 evil cult experts from Tiandu's 10,000 Victorious sect were also suppressed by the demonic chi to the point that they could not move freely. Green Feather King transmitted, "This time we are in trouble, we actually fell into the magic tool of the devil." At this time, Su Fang secretly looked around. Other than dozens of people, this place was cold, but there were a few places with demonic chi restrictions. The other places were filled with the aura of magic tools. He secretly replied, "This scene is similar to when we fell into Xianjia Gate. Xianjia Gate has all kinds of spiritual chi and treasures. It is much better than this. Senior, don't be anxious. In the past, you and I could escape from Xianjia Gate, let alone this demonic tool. Kid, do you have the confidence to leave? Ghostface sect didn't kill you and me on the spot, nor did they feed me that terrifying food. I guess they want to use us to cultivate. We will be sucked out. That is the first method. If the second method doesn't work, I will use Primordial Chaos Sage to melt this demonic tool. Naturally, we will be able to escape, but that is even more dangerous because we don't know the situation outside. If we are in Ghostface sect, even if we escape from the demonic tool, it will be difficult for us to escape. This king understands. Just wait. Didn't you cultivate the Heavenly Demon Book? Kid, it seems like you won't be shackled by this demonic tool. Senior is right. I can absorb the demonic tool's power to strengthen myself. Junior can wait patiently. The two talked for a while inside the demonic tool, but no one paid attention to them. These people were shackled by Ghostface sect's experts, and they could not use any other abilities here. Without any divine abilities, they were like mortals here, even worse than mortals. They could not even stand up. Green Feather King sat down and coldly looked around. Su Fang started to activate the Heavenly Demon Book. Of course, he also had to detoxify himself and Green Feather King. He had already let the Blood Ghost True Demon absorb the special poison. A few days later, after the poison was removed, he used his left hand to send the Blood Ghost True Demon into Green Feather King's body when no one was paying attention. This time, Su Fang used the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal, secretly using the countless Yang souls to absorb the demonic tool's magic power. Then, he used the Heavenly Demon Book to absorb the demonic tool's demonic chi from his back. This demonic tool's space was filled with demonic chi. Even if Su Fang absorbed it for 10 or 100 years, he would still lose a little bit. When demonic chi entered the body, it could not take the initiative. Instead, it was directly absorbed by the pure yang energy. The pure yang energy fused with demonic chi, and demonic chi would eventually be absorbed by the world fragment. Finally, through the world's power, it would turn into the world's true chi and spread into Su Fang's body, forming a major cycle. In this way, Su Fang's immortal power, which was close to that of a virtual immortal, was constantly strengthening. It fused with many forces and turned into the pure yang world's origin power. In this way, Su Fang could absorb the power of heaven and earth in any spacetime. His strength was beginning to increase. Su Fang felt that he had reached the limit of one calamity stage. Once he left this place, he would be able to transcend the tribulation and step into two calamity stage. However, he knew that one calamity stage meant facing the so-called illusion tribulation. It was incomparably terrifying. It was not strength, but it was thousands of times harder to deal with. As he continued to cultivate, Su Fang also injected more demonic chi into the true demon blood plate. This way, the Blood Ghost True Demon would have the power to devour at all times. It would probably take more than a few years. The quiet demonic tool's space was dark. The dozens of cultivators did not say a word. In this dead silence, a demonic seal suddenly appeared in the center. It turned into rays of demonic light and turned into two shackles. Demonic power swept out, sucking Green Feather King, Su Fang, and more than a dozen cultivators into the demonic seal. Spiritual chi. Looking around, they were surrounded by dazzling light and they could breathe freely. Su Fang and Green Feather King smiled. They had really left the demonic tool. However, this also meant that they would be used by the demonic Tao experts to cultivate. Why is there a complicated, chaotic, and powerful aura of the interstellar world here? They calmed down and saw that there were white clouds around them, as well as pieces of floating matter. What a strange place. Looking again, this did not seem to be a natural sky. It felt like a spatial world full of matter. Especially from the depths below, there was a terrifying aura of emptiness and nothingness like the stars. Take these people and cultivate. Later, we will continue to pursue the bloodshed demon king in this abyss valley. A familiar voice suddenly surprised Su Fong. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly found that he was surrounded by white clouds. More than 20 demonic Tao cultivators wearing masks were entrenched in the surroundings, and a few monsters were lying nearby. Su Fong saw a familiar thin moan. It pointed at him, Green Feather King, and the others, and flew to the side powerlessly. Pa! Runes suddenly pressed down on them. Before they could stabilize themselves, Su Fong and Green Feather King were controlled by the demonic chi shackles released by 2 demonic Tao experts wearing masks. Too weak. These are only ordinary virtual immortals. Brother, just be satisfied. You and I are ordinary and have no status. It's already good enough that we can cultivate with these cultivators. Only the experts above us can cultivate with these powerful cultivators. Su Fong and Green Feather King were controlled by the 2 demonic Tao experts. Listening to the 2 talking, they still felt unsatisfied and sneered. Su Fong and Green Feather King looked at each other and felt their bodies begin to soar. It turned out that the demonic Tao experts around them had controlled the cultivators to leave the center and hide in the surrounding rocks and gravel to cultivate. Su Fong and Green Feather King were pulled into the gravel by the 2 demonic Tao experts. They were only 30 meters away from each other. Senior, let's wait for the right time. The Blood Wraith True Devil in your body will release its ability in reverse. When the other party absorbs your energy, it will also absorb his energy. So what if the Blood Wraith True Devil is poisonous? These demonic Tao experts won't be able to resist it. Su Fong secretly transmitted to Green Feather King. I'm currently activating the True Devil Blood Plate. When the other party absorbs your energy, I'll fully activate the True Devil Blood Plate and use a Supreme Fate Art to silently enter his divine aperture and shatter his young nascent soul. Once we succeed, we'll be able to escape. Let's do that. Green Feather King was a demon rock. He didn't have many divine abilities like humans, so he could only follow Su Fong. Buzz. The 2 demonic Tao experts didn't stand on ceremony. They directly used their devil runes to form a seal that controlled Su Fong and Green Feather King. They used the devil runes to absorb their essence from their 7 apertures. Their essence included their true chi and life energy. All their strength would become the 2 demonic Tao experts. Heavenly Fate Life Shrinking Art. While Su Fong seemed to be restricted by the devil runes and couldn't move, in truth, he didn't fear the devil chi. He secretly activated the Heavenly Fate Life Shrinking Art. This divine ability once more released its peerless power, transforming into countless Tao runes that activated the True Devil Blood Plate. The True Devil Blood Plate transformed into a grain of essence surrounded by countless Tao runes. Along with the essence in his body, it flowed out of his head and into the demonic Tao expert's mouth. Brother, that bloodshed demon king really isn't simple. Even with so many of us surrounding him, he still managed to escape. However, he's already been struck by Senior Apprentice Brother's magic energy. So what if he can escape? He won't be able to live for long. This is the abyss, a place that exists between planes and worlds. This is a crack between worlds, and the energy here is very complex. Occasionally, there will be a vortex that will tear apart all matter. Right now, I'm just worried that the Bloodshed Demon King will be buried in one of those vortexes. I wonder what kind of treasure it is. It's related to my devil race. If I found it, I naturally wouldn't hand it over. It's a priceless treasure. Don't think about that. If senior apprentice brother finds out, we'll all be refined alive. Yes, yes. The two demonic Tao experts whispered as they absorbed the energy. Chapter 877. The two demons continued to absorb energy from Su Fong and Green Feather King. The energy gushed out from their 7 orifices, causing the two to tremble. About half a day later, the surroundings were cold and silent. A turbulent force from the abyss began to appear. Su Fong suddenly sent a voice transmission. Senior, is Blood Ghost True Demon ready? In an instant, Green Feather King sent a voice transmission. Almost. Blood Ghost True Demon is so powerful. He turned into countless demonic chi and fused with it, turning himself into demonic blood. Following my power, he absorbed the blood into the demon's body. Alright, I'll activate the true demon blood plate and sneak attack the demon's young infant. Everything was ready. The Tao runes formed by the heavenly secret life shrinking technique protected the true demon blood plate, hiding it in the countless energies. It turned into a spiritual light and unknowingly planted itself in the demon's young infant. Blood Ghost True Demon also entered the body of the other demon. Supreme power of fate. Su Fong, who was gushing out a large amount of essence energy, suddenly opened his eyes and clapped his hands. Pah! His hands struck together, releasing the power of his essence spirit. Rumble, the demon behind him, who was absorbing energy, had just heard a little noise. Before he could react, his essence spirit aura gushed out of his head and kept shaking. His body also staggered uncontrollably. In the divine aperture deep in the demon's mind. No, it's the true demon blood plate. This is a demonic artifact refined by a heaven demon expert to inherit the power of a true demon. How did it silently enter my mind? No! In the divine aperture. The true demon blood plate fused with a large number of Tao runes and flames. It kept circling and spinning, fiercely suppressing the demon's essence spirits. The essence spirits shattered one by one. Even if the demon released demonic runes, they were completely burned away by the Tao rune flames. Struggling and despairing, the essence spirits continued to shatter on a large scale. On the other side, the demon controlling Green Feather King's body suddenly split open. Blood gushed out and his eyes were bloodshot. He turned into a bloody person. Green Feather King seized the opportunity. He turned around and jumped up, slapping the demon's head. The head shook and then began to shatter. Inside, another bloody person was slapping the demon's body. It was Blood Ghost True Demon. Green Feather King felt uneasy. He sucked in a breath of cold air and immediately released the seal, sucking the struggling demon into his palm. Senior. At this moment, Su Fong also grabbed the devil's head. He no longer struggled. Su Fong smiled mercilessly and chased down the abyss with Green Feather King. Chi-chi! An eater suddenly appeared from the side and spat out its bloody tongue at the two of them. However, Green Feather King grabbed a rock, and with a hong-long sound, the 3 blood tongues were blocked. The two of them fled into the depths of the abyss as fast as they could. How dare you kill my Ghost-Face Sect's disciples? Capture them! The 5 Devil Tao Ghost-Face Sect experts immediately chased after him on their swords. Su Fong and Green Feather King followed the force of the fall and fled deeper into the abyss. The 2 people who were flying downwards were suddenly enveloped by an invisible twisting aura. Their falling momentum suddenly froze. At the same time, the 5 Ghost-Face Sect demons also charged over, but the result was the same. They were all trapped by the distorted aura, which swept them even deeper. One of the demons exclaimed, "This is the Abyss Chi current. We're in big trouble. Let's escape." Boom boom boom. The 5 Devil Tao experts activated their Tao items at the same time. Terrifying devilish light exploded above them. They had just shattered some of the twisting aura and were about to fly away when that twisting aura once more enveloped the 5 of them. Furthermore, Su Fong and Green Feather King just happened to follow the force of the twisting aura and appear above the 5 Devil Dao experts. The 5 Devil Dao experts were startled, but then they laughed together. Haha, where do you think you're going? Su Fong had a helpless expression. Unlucky, really unlucky. The Abyss Chi current is too terrifying. It's just like a Dao domain. I can't move within it. I didn't expect the Abyss Valley to be such a dangerous place. He regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he would have taken a gamble and fled into the Abyss Valley. Brat, they can't do anything to us. Green Feather King watched the 5 Devil Dao experts. Let's see when this Abyss Chi current will end. That was true. They couldn't move, and the Devil Dao experts couldn't move either. Not good. After a while, the 7 of them quickly advanced through the Abyss Chi current. They were able to shake away any meteors they encountered. However, suddenly, a huge rock appeared in front of them. When the 5 Devil Dao experts saw it, they immediately activated their defensive Dao artifact. 222. Su Fong and Green Feather King saw the 5 Devil Dao experts being shackled by the Abyss Chi current. They followed the Abyss Chi current and slammed into the huge rock. In the end, the Abyss Chi current dissipated, and the 5 Devil Dao experts inside were badly mutilated. Su Fong and Green Feather King immediately defended themselves. Heaven Monarch's soul sword blocked in front of them. Rumble! The Abyss Chi current also slammed the 2 of them into the rock. Fortunately, Heaven Monarch's soul sword released his aura and focused it on the rock first. Even so, the 2 of them still slammed into the rock. For a moment, they felt dizzy and disoriented, forgetting everything. However, the 2 of them quickly regained their senses. The 3 severely injured Devil Dao experts flew over on their swords, while the other 2 remained where they were. Su Fong struggled to support himself. They're really persistent. Senior, we're not their match. These people aren't virtual immortals. We can only continue to run downwards and risk our lives. Let's do it. Green Feather King agreed. The 2 of them chased downwards as if they were weightless again. The 3 Devil Dao experts gritted their teeth in hatred, but they couldn't force themselves to chase after them. The Abyss Chi current was still forming. When the 2 of them flew past it, they were still affected by the resistance. It was as if there was a layer of net that stopped the 2 of them in midair, slowing them down and making them fall downward. The 3 Devil Dao experts were the same. Tut tut tut, perhaps it was the Abyss Chi current's aftershock, but for some reason there was a huge earthquake above them. Both of them looked up. It was terrible. A large number of rocks were in a state of collapse. A large area was like a lump of rock paste that was falling towards them. There were too many of them. They were densely packed. It's over. This should be the only thought in their minds. This time, the Devil Dao experts fled in all directions. They no longer chased after Su Fong and Green Feather King. Escaping was more important. Su Fong and Green Feather King also quickly stepped on Heaven Monarch's soul sword and injected immortal stones. As they fell, they changed their direction and tried to leave the collapsed rock. The collapsing force became more and more terrifying, forming a large area. They were less than 10 feet away from the 2 of them. Fortunately, the 2 of them were still struggling to fly to the edge. In the end, Su Fong suddenly summoned the Wooling Goblin and activated the power of Earth in his life divine power. Suddenly, the Wooling Goblin transformed into its original form in its most powerful state and wrapped around Su Fong and Green Feather King. A large area above them hit the Wooling Goblin. Suddenly, the Wooling Goblin was swallowed by the collapsed rocks in the center. The surrounding abyss became a collapsing purgatory. Any cultivator under such attack would only have a dead end. Crack! A large number of falling rocks covered them and kept falling. Unexpectedly, cracks began to appear on the Wooling Goblin's body. The Wooling Goblin was injured. If this continued, he would definitely die here. Watch this, Venerable. At the moment of life and death, The undying Venerable took the initiative to transform into its original form and suddenly appeared above the Wooling Goblin. The huge tortoise shell was crushed by the rocks and exploded. This time, they saw how strong the undying tortoise's shell was. It had become an immortal, and the hardness of the tortoise shell was even more terrifying than when it was in the small world. A large number of falling rocks covered the tortoise shell and hid it, but the tortoise shell was not affected at all. At this time, in the depths of the abyss, the collapse formed a huge sand pile. Coincidentally, the undying tortoise was at the edge of the sand pile and kept squeezing toward the edge. The undying tortoise also began to speed up and finally left the impact range of the center. It was completely surrounded by the debris and landed on a huge rock. The Wooling Goblin was below the undying tortoise. It released its monster body and turned into its original form. It looked around in pain. "I survived." The undying tortoise was practically lying on the ground, using its monster body to protect everyone. It said proudly, "It was this Venerable who saved you. After this Venerable became an immortal, my monster body became 100 times stronger than when I was in the small world, or even 1,000 times stronger. After being shackled for so many years, my monster body almost became an immortal." Su Fong hastily took out an immortal pill and gave it to the Wooling Goblin. Greenfeather King also took one and gave one to the undying tortoise. Taking advantage of the fact that the collapse was still ongoing, they might as well hide here to avoid being found by the Ghostface sect. After swallowing an immortal pill, Su Fong also swallowed an immortal fruit. This way, his power and his injured body began to recover. No matter how tough his and Ping King's bodies were, they couldn't compare to the Wooling Goblin. The Wooling Goblin was a stone demon, and its body was even tougher than Greenfeather King and Su Fong's. Even its monster body was heavily injured. Su Fong and Greenfeather King were also heavily injured by the abyss currents. "Abyss brat, there are too many dangerous places in this world. If it wasn't for that big rock blocking the abyss currents, we might have been taken somewhere else. How miserable would that have been? I heard that the Abyss Valley is a plains abyss, and it's formed within a plane or world. The large world doesn't just have plains abyss, but also desolate regions, danger zones, and ancient ruins. In the future, we really can't run around like headless flies." As they gradually recovered, the collapse around them was still ongoing. They weren't in a hurry. Since they were already here, they might as well wait patiently. Moreover, they might be able to avoid the Ghostface sect. About 5 years later, Su Fong, Greenfeather King, and the Wooling Goblin had all recovered. At this moment, there was still some movement from the collapse, but there was no longer any threat. The undying tortoise and the Wooling Goblin immediately disappeared, returning to the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Whoosh! The two flew out from the ruins. Greenfeather King looked around and saw that it was a grave-like ruin of the abyss. In the center, there was a sand vortex, and the ruins were still falling into the abyss. Perhaps this place would disappear and fall into the endless abyss. The two adjusted their breathing and began to fly toward the top of the abyss. But their speed was very slow because there was an invisible suction force coming from the bottom of the abyss. It was as if everything in the abyss was tightly glued to it. Therefore, the two were very slow and could only fly section by section. Boom! At this time, some rubble suddenly fell from the other side. As soon as the two dodged it, they saw two demons chasing after a bloody immortal who was constantly bleeding. They kept on using their Taoist artifacts to break the rocks and chase after that immortal. Moreover, the two demons were using a very powerful demonic artifact to kill. Any rocks that were hit by the demonic chi began to shatter. Boom! Su Fong and Greenfeather King quickly hid. They didn't dare to cause any trouble. After the sweep, only a loud explosion could be heard. Instantly, the splendor of the impact of blood chi was everywhere. Self-detonation. Greenfeather King looked at the terrifying explosion around them. If it weren't for the huge rock behind them, they would have been turned into dust like the normal rocks around them. This person died too miserably. In the end, he self-detonated. Chapter 878. Su Fang also saw the huge explosion around him, causing a lot of blood qi and true qi to dissipate. He sighed. To be chased by the Ghostface sect, their Tao artifact is extraordinary, and those two immortals are also peerless experts. This immortal's fate is not good. It seems that the Ghostface sect is very powerful in the Yuan Lu Great World. We have to be more careful. Green Feather King and Su Fang leaned against the rock, their backs facing the explosion of blood light. Everything around them was collapsing. Little did they know. Another wave of blood-red light shot out violently. Su Fang sensed a special life qi coming along with the destructive impact. He looked to his right and saw a dazzling blood light coming from within the blood light. He looked again curiously and saw that within the blood light was an irregular blood immortal stone. It quickly flew past his right along with the blood light's momentum. What a shocking life qi! It was just a glance. With Su Fangda's perfect physical body, blood transformation true body, and black lotus true body, he could see that the blood immortal stone contained an indescribable life qi. Treasure! With a thought, he waved his hand and grabbed. With a whoosh, the profound light suddenly streaked across the blood-red light, and then the blood-red immortal stone circled around in midair and appeared in Su Fang's hand. Green Feather King saw that Su Fang had made a move at this time and released his aura. He was very puzzled and worried, but when he saw the blood immortal stone in his hand, he asked curiously, "What is it? Could it be a treasure?" "I don't know either. In short, this stone contains a very mysterious life qi. Not good, those two Ghostface sect experts seem to be approaching this place." Su Fang looked to his right with worry. "Use your Earth Divine Aura, and there are fluctuations in the surrounding aura. They may not discover us." Divine Aura Blessing. Xianwang's Six Paths Pagoda released its divine aura and began to bless Su Fang's physical body. After the blessing, the Earth Divine Aura spread around Su Fang's body. After a moment, he released an earthy yellow light, and slowly turned into the same color as the rock. They waited in fear for a few breaths. At this time, the remaining power was still going on, and the surroundings were still collapsing. Su Fang, who was constantly activating his perfection stage ability, suddenly heard two Ghostface sect demonic Tao powerhouses appear a mile behind him, and they were still talking. The Bloodshed Demon King actually chose to self-destruct. He would rather die than give us the treasure. He knew that if he fell into our hands, he would suffer a fate worse than death. That's why he made such a gamble. However, we came here under the orders of our sect to search for treasures. Now that the Bloodshed Demon King has self-destructed, the treasures should have been blasted into the abyss as well. That's the difficult part. The Valley of the Abyss is a broken space-time between worlds and planes. It contains all kinds of mysterious natural forces. The bottom of the Valley of the Abyss is an endless abyss where no life can survive. That treasure probably fell into the abyss with the collapse caused by the explosion. With our cultivation, it is impossible for us to enter the endless abyss. Only the peerless masters of our sect can enter. We can only return to the sect and report back. But is that treasure a piece of blood-red jade, a blood-red scroll, or a blood-red sword? Those people from the 10,000 victorious sect can't say for sure. We also didn't see the Bloodshed Demon King use that treasure. Who cares what it is? If the sect wants this treasure, they definitely won't let you and me take the risk to enter the endless abyss to search for it. This kind of thankless task, let's forget about it. Go and gather our fellow sect members. We will immediately return to report. Under the perfection stage ability, he heard two middle-aged men talking in the abyss behind the boulder. Hearing that the other party was leaving, the sword hanging in his heart immediately sank. Su Fang gradually calmed down. The great world is indescribable. There are many treasures that have been born. The Ghost Face sect will definitely not stay in this dangerous abyss. About half a day later, the two hid behind the boulder. This boulder was slightly falling to the bottom of the abyss. Unable to feel any demonic aura, Su Fang and Green Feather King immediately appeared. After hiding their aura, they stepped on Lord of Soul's sword and slowly avoided the collapsing force. Especially the abyss airflow, it was too terrifying. Once they were sucked into it, only death would await them. After 2 days they left the abyss. As expected, they didn't see any Ghost Face sect cultivators. But Su Fang used the perfection stage ability and still sensed some immortals around the abyss. Their aura. Abyss Valley. It was also the first time Su Fang and Green Feather King saw what the abyss looked like. How to describe it? This was no longer the black stone sea cliff. The surrounding was a desolate land, but there were also some forests. The abyss was like a crack belt that divided the desolate land into two, forming a canyon, but much bigger than a canyon. It emitted a complex grayish-white aura. They could clearly feel that the abyss was very different from the natural aura outside. Inside the abyss, everything was imprisoned. It was as if there were endless demons at the bottom of the abyss, absorbing the matter and power of nature through the abyss. The inside and outside of the abyss were two completely different worlds. Looking at such a dangerous place, thinking of the terrifying destruction caused by the collapse and the abyss airflow, they felt a chill. The abyss is already so terrifying. How terrifying is the real abyss? Fortunately, we came out alive. Kid, we have to find a place to hide. Green Feather King suddenly patted Su Fang's shoulder. As Su Fang nodded, the two immediately flew away from the abyss on their swords. After entering the desolate land, they found endless demonic aura and some evil aura. It seemed that not only the abyss was terrifying, but the surrounding land was also more dangerous. After a few days, the two found a mountain range without much threatening aura and hid. Su Fang let the 6 big goblin, Bai Ling, and the undying turtle out to cultivate. He also gave them pills, immortal fruits, and immortal stones to cultivate. Some immortal stones contain the essence of the world as well as spiritual energy. They were the most commonly used auxiliary treasures for cultivators. Only after doing all this could they cultivate in peace. After a while, I'll have to undergo my tribulation. I'll go from 1 to 2 heavenly calamity. Su Fang's overall strength continued to rise. He also took out the 2 devil corpses he had obtained. The first one he saw was the Ghost Face sect's mask. It was a rather terrifying skull. Then he took out his treasures. He obtained 2 storage rings. There were no special treasures in his body other than devilish qi. Su Fang devoured a portion of the devilish qi and then gave the 2 immortal corpses to the Blood Ghost True Devil to devour. Once the Blood Ghost True Devil devoured them, it would probably become the strongest person here. That was because it didn't need to undergo tribulation. Cultivation was secondary. All it needed to do was devour energy. After fusing with 2 powerful Devil Dao corpses, the Blood Ghost True Devil's power would increase countless times. The Blood Ghost True Devil roared a few times and swept the 2 corpses into its true devil blood plate. Su Fang then checked the 2 rings. After spending a lot of effort, he used the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique to remove the seals within. When he entered the rings, he found that the space inside was not as big as the small universe immortal pot. However, it wasn't that small either. There were all kinds of evil resources inside, as well as immortal stones and some secret manuals. Although there weren't many, it was still a dazzling array. Especially the Dao artifacts. There were nearly 10 Dao artifacts in the storage rings of the 2 Devil Dao experts. Their quality was rather ordinary. Su Fang also let the Purple Wind Monster and the other big goblin have Dao artifacts. He also cleared out the immortal pills and some resources that could be refined. In the future, everyone could consume them and cultivate together. Map. What I need is the map of the Yuan Fortune Great World. Suddenly, a surprised smile appeared on Su Fang's face. Turned out that he had taken out a few immortal scrolls. When he unfolded them, it was the map of the Yuan Fortune Great World, as well as the rough maps of the surrounding Great World. It was too detailed. At first glance, he saw the immortal Ao Great World where Seven-Star Child, Immortal Master Ling Xian, and the Jing clan were. It was quite a distance away from the Yuan Fortune Great World. He could also see the Great Qian Immortal World and the Sky-bearing Great World. For now, he still needed to know everything about the Yuan Fortune Great World. He opened another ancient scroll, which was a detailed map of the Yuan Fortune Great World. He first found the Ascension Pool. It was better if he didn't look. When he looked at the map, he saw that there were many Ascension Pools around the map. There should be more than 20 of them. They were all at the borders of the Great World and were very remote. Gradually, he found the Blackstone Sea Cliff and the Valley of the Abyss. Only then did Su Fang clearly lock onto his position. There were many Blackstone Sea Cliffs in the Yuan Fortune Great World. There were more than 10 of them. One of them was very vast. It was dozens of times bigger than the Blackstone Sea Cliff that he had seen before. It was very shocking. The White Cloud Immortal Realm is still very far away from the Spirit 6 Immortal Realm. It is almost in the depths of the east of the Yuan Fortune Great World. I guess that is the core of this great world. When Su Fang noticed the Spirit 6 Immortal Realm, he could find one Immortal Realm. It was the White Cloud Immortal Realm where White Cloud Immortal Monarch was. It was very easy to find. He could see the most eye-catching White Cloud Immortal Realm at a glance. Jianwu Manor. Not far from the Spirit 6 Immortal Realm, behind some mountains, Su Fang finally saw the Jianwu Manor. This Jianwu Manor was also very strange. It was not in any immortal realm. Instead, it was built in an empty wasteland between a few immortal realms. It looked like the Jianwu Manor was very powerful. Although it could not be compared to the immortal realm, it was still considered a powerful force in the Yuan Fortune Great World. After a while, he turned the map into a true pattern imprint and handed it to Green Feather King, Bai Ling, the Undying Tortoise, and the other big goblin to integrate. In this way, everyone had a certain understanding of the Yuan Fortune Great World. This blood-colored immortal stone should be the blood jade that the Ghost Face sect is looking for. It came from the Blackstone Sea Cliff. A blood-red light appeared in Su Fang's left hand. The faint blood-red light was slightly mottled. This blood jade seemed to be a broken part. There were obvious signs of it being broken. It was not big. It was half the size of a palm. For some reason, as long as one came into contact with the blood jade's aura, one would feel a mysterious life aura. A treasure that came into being. The blood jade was not simple. It had a great background. Immediately, he dripped a drop of blood into it. With great skill, Su Fang began to integrate the blood jade. He wanted to see what secrets it held. He did not expect his blood to drip on the blood jade. He thought that the blood jade would be difficult to integrate. After all, it was a treasure that came into being. But in the end, his blood was integrated into the blood jade. Then, his body and consciousness naturally integrated with the blood jade. He peeled off a wisp of his consciousness and began to enter the blood jade. In front of him were layers of blood-red array formations. Just as he was looking forward to what was inside, a huge blood-red cage suddenly appeared in front of him. That cage seemed to lock up some peerless monster, and it was releasing life-destroying flames. It was burning. The blood-red cage was burning. Seeing this scene, Su Fangda was shocked. There were too many treasures in the world. He did not know what kind of treasure or secret was in this blood jade. When he got closer, he saw that in the blood-red cage, there was a person in blood-red robes who was bound by chains. He was sitting cross-legged in the middle. It was indeed a person in blood-red robes. It seemed like his entire body was made of blood. He had integrated with the cage, chains, and flames around him, and was burning continuously. Su Fang's gaze changed slightly. It is not a living person. It is not a body of flesh and blood. It is a primordial spirit. So this blood jade has such a primordial spirit sealed within it. Chapter 879. Fortunately, it was a Yuan spirit. If it had been some kind of power, living person, or monster, Su Fang really wouldn't have dared to take a step closer. But even if it was a Yuan spirit, this Yuan spirit and the prison seal were definitely extraordinary. Su Fang had never seen anyone's Yuan spirit sealed in such an environment. From this, it could be seen just how extraordinary this person's Yuan spirit was. With caution and curiosity, Su Fang approached step by step. He wanted to take a closer look at the primordial spirit sealed in chains and see what kind of person it was. Just as he was about to reach the blood prison, the blood-robed person suddenly said, "There's actually someone who can come here?" Was he mocking himself? Perhaps only the blood-robed person would know. After he finished speaking, he slowly raised his head. Su Fang felt like he was facing a great enemy and didn't dare take another step closer. At this moment, the mysterious blood-robed person revealed his true appearance. He wasn't an old man, nor was he a middle-aged man. Instead, it was a young man in his early 20s who was about the same age as Su Fang. This man had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had a square face and a curly beard that exuded a heroic and rough aura. If one did not look carefully at his appearance, he would be a middle-aged man in his 40s. But this was a youth. The blood-robed youth was unable to move. Only his head could move. When he saw Su Fang's shock, he was also surprised. "To be able to come here, it seems you and I are fated." Su Fang calmed down. Knowing that this person wouldn't be able to escape the prison, he wasn't in much danger. Moreover, from this young man's gaze and demeanor, he didn't sense any threat at all. Only then did Su Fang gradually relax. "Sir, you are very strong. What a strong Yuan spirit. To be able to survive after being sealed in such a space, I can be considered to have some experience, but I have never seen you like this." The youth said, "You haven't, but you've seen me. In the past, there was a devil path cultivator called the Bloodshed Demon King who was also trying to fuse with the Blood Jade. But he was never able to succeed, so he came to me." "How was I able to do that?" Su Fang was puzzled. That Bloodshed Demon King was much stronger than him, so why hadn't he been able to enter the Blood Jade? "You have an ancient perfect body." "That's right. I accidentally cultivated the perfect physical body art in the small world and became a perfect physical body cultivator. You have great eyesight. When I ascended to the great world, I met many immortals, but only you could see through my physical body. Not only can I see that you have attained the perfect fleshly body, but you have also fused with other fleshly body powers, causing your perfect fleshly body to transform continuously. Even among the countless fleshly body cultivators in the ancient times, you are an outstanding existence, 1 in 10,000. Could it be that I am able to come here because of the difference in my physical body? You're smart. You're an ascender, but you're only at the flying celestial realm. You're a disaster realm cultivator. Only a cultivator with a powerful physical body can fuse with more power and carry it to the great world. Are you also a fleshly body cultivator?" Hearing this, Su Fang's eyes suddenly widened. He sized up the man sealed in the bloody prison with even more surprise. "That's right. That's why I said from the beginning that you and I are very fated. You and I are both fleshly body cultivators. That's why your blood can fuse with this blood jade." The mysterious man in red murmured, "This piece of blood jade is not simple. It is the most precious cultivation treasure of my family. The blood it can accept is also the most unique existence in this world. Your physical body has already surpassed countless cultivators in this bright heaven and earth grand world. That's impossible. Could it be that I'm the only one in this great world with a perfect physical body from the ancient times? This confused Su Fang. Of course not. The great world naturally has ancient fleshly body arts passed down. With the different cultivation methods, there have long been a large number of perfect physical body cultivators. You're one of them, and so am I. But you're the best among them. And who are you sealed here? You can call me Luo. Although I'm many years older than you, we look about the same age. There's no need to be wary of me. Being trapped here, I can't leave for the rest of my life. Luo. This man had such a simple, yet strange, yet powerful name. Su Fang suddenly said something he did not think too much about. Luo, since I can come here, I should be able to control the power of the blood jade and let your Yuan spirit leave here. I can help you. Thank you, but that's impossible. First of all, your cultivation base is too low. Most importantly, the clan treasure that sealed me was split into several pieces. The blood jade you see now is only one of the pieces. There are still a few more pieces. When the upheavals occurred, the blood jade shattered, and they ended up in different worlds. The world changed? Was it when the first and second suns rose? The moment the first heavenly sun rose, the primordial spirit blood jade that sealed me suddenly struggled out of its seal. The moment it escaped, it shattered a little. This piece was transferred into the abyss of the plains and accidentally came to an abyss in the Yuan Fortune Great World. Coincidentally, I met the Bloodshed Demon King and you. Another world changed? You're a savior? Saviors? I've heard of them before. They are the most mysterious existences among humans. When my Yuan spirit escaped from the seal when the world changed, I probably absorbed the power of the savior. I can be considered a savior. A savior. Su Fang smiled in surprise and strode to the outside of the blood prison. He was only 10 meters away from Luo, but it felt like they were at the ends of the earth. What a coincidence. My name is Su Fang. I don't have many friends, but 2 of them are saviors. I didn't expect to meet another savior today. I have to think of a way to save you from this blood jade. No, thank you for your kindness. This blood jade is my family's treasure. You can't move it. If you can open it, I'll probably be able to use your power to break free when you came in. And if you want to let me out, you'll have to gather all the blood jade and let my Yuan spirit fuse with it. That's not a problem. I just happen to be in a great world. I'll go to many great worlds and slowly gather them. I can also help you find a new physical body. Find a physical body? Yes. Otherwise, it'll be impossible to save your Yuan spirit without a physical body in the future. Haha. Luo laughed. How? Su Fang was even more confused. How do you know I've fallen if I have a physical body? Your Yuan spirit is sealed here. Naturally, you don't have a physical body. You're wrong. Wrong. Luo answered frankly. I'm not dead. I'm alive and well. It's just that a supreme expert separated my physical body from my Yuan spirit and sealed them. My physical body and Yuan spirit are each sealed in an ancient, mysterious, and dangerous place. My physical body is still alive and has vitality. It's in a deep sleep, so I'm not dead. Su Fang was shocked. Are you an ancient almighty or an ancient demon? His physical body and Yuan spirit were separated, and they were sealed separately. What kind of existence was this? Ha! His expression made Luo Weiran laugh. I'm very ancient. I can't be considered an almighty, but I'm also not an ancient demon. But in the eyes of some humans, I can be considered an ancient demon. I, Luo Shunglai, am different, but in the end I still ended up like this, slowly waiting for death or being sealed forever. This kind of pain isn't something ordinary people can endure. Suddenly, Su Fang thought of the fat immortal who had died in Xianjia Gate. That kind of desperate and painful expression when he died. There was a kind of life that was worse than death. that was being suppressed, sealed, and forever lost one's freedom. The ice-sealing king and the fat immortal in Xianjia Gate were one of them. This Luo in front of him was also one of them. Luo looked at Su Fang. I appreciate your kindness, but don't think about helping me regain my freedom. You can't do it. Even if you can, you'll have to take unimaginable risks and be suppressed for countless years. Now that the shackles of my Yuan spirit have escaped from the seal with the blood jade, allowing my Yuan spirit to meet you and see the infinite world, it's not a bad thing. You're already helping me by chatting with me. After so many years, you're the first cultivator to come to the blood jade and talk to me. Su Fang suddenly fell silent. He faced it calmly. I'm indeed a weakling, but it's my fault for encountering such a situation. I, Su Fang, like to challenge the impossible and go against the heavens. I want to see how strong the blood jade behind you is. Not now, but who knows in the future. I'm more straightforward. You're a proud person, so I understand that you don't like to listen to me. But if you really want to help me, then become a peak expert of the great world. When that day comes, I'll tell you. Let's see if you can reach that day and let me talk to you with my true body. I'll work hard, not to prove anything for you, but to prove myself. I want to live more brilliantly than others and do the impossible that others can't do. Go and undergo your tribulation. You've already released the heavenly disaster chi. You're about to break through to the second heavenly disaster chi. I'll talk to you next time when I have time. Su Fang smiled in surprise. Only then did he remember that he was going to undergo his tribulation. After leaving, the mysterious Luo suddenly struggled a few times, but to no avail. He sighed helplessly. How many years has it been? If I had Su Fang's freedom, I would have already obtained the king's physique, and become the strongest body in the clan. Buzz. Su Fang's consciousness returned to his true body. A streak of heavenly disaster chi was released. Luo's appearance appeared in his mind. He didn't think too much. He came to the other side of the mountain range, 5 miles away, and began to release heavenly disaster chi. The undying tortoise also followed and released its true body. It lay in the valley on the ground, almost occupying the entire valley. A great tribulation surged in the sky, full of terrifying natural disasters that shattered the sky. The natural disasters were like the anger of the sky. This great tribulation is going to deal with the illusion tribulation, right? Illusion tribulation. After stepping into the fairy realm, the most terrifying thing was the doomsday natural disaster. It was not the power of the doomsday natural disaster, but the illusion tribulation. Rumble. An hour later, the doomsday natural disaster tribulation 5 miles above was divided into upper and lower layers, constantly condensing. Su Fang's aura also reached the peak, surging out. He looked at the sky with shining eyes. The doomsday natural disaster tribulation is already very terrifying, but there's still the illusion tribulation. My focus is to deal with the illusion tribulation. My Tao heart and will must not relax in the slightest, and let the illusion tribulation take advantage of it. Chi. After he finished speaking, the heavenly tribulation in the sky tore the sky into pieces. Soon, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Su Fang began to form a formation, releasing the strongest defense. He also let the undying tortoise get ready. 2 great tribulations, 2 challenges, must be extraordinary. After waiting for about half an incense stick's time, all of a sudden, a part of the sky was torn apart by a torrential tearing force. The tearing force directly shot towards Su Fang with tremendous momentum. Kid, this doomsday natural disaster tribulation is not an ordinary heavenly disaster. It's not suitable for me. You'd better deal with it yourself. I'm leaving. Unexpectedly, when the undying tortoise saw such a terrifying heavenly disaster, it actually turned into its true body and left the valley. Wasn't it a little too quick to run away? Who said that the tortoise was slow? Su Fang wanted to slap him at this time. Chapter 880. After watching the undying tortoise leave, Su Fang began to release his full strength, turning into palm prints that grabbed at the doomsday disaster like thousands of giant hands. The doomsday disaster tried to swallow the humans who were smaller than ants in front of it with a collapsing momentum. Boom! Boom! With a body that could support the sky, Su Fang floated in the array. Facing the collapsing doomsday disaster, the palm prints that filled the sky shattered the doomsday disaster piece by piece. A large amount of burning flames and the sound of thunder suddenly appeared around him. At this moment, it was as if he was in the middle of a disaster vortex. Boom! 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 The shattered fragments of the doomsday disaster kept falling to the ground, causing deafening explosions around Su Fang and shaking the earth. What a powerful force! Su Fang began to sweat. This was probably the only time in his cultivation history that he had used all his strength to deal with a heavenly tribulation. He didn't know how many palm prints that contained powerful force he had grabbed, attacking the collapsing doomsday disaster again and again. Thunder rumbled around him, fire burned, and the collapsing doomsday disaster above him. Su Fang was in a predicament of a great calamity, and he was in mortal danger at all times. Boom! Another large amount of doomsday disaster came from the sky. Su Fang was almost crushed by the collapsing force, and he couldn't see the sky. Especially the thunder and the burning fire, which shook his divine aperture and mind again and again. The fire and thunder merged, shattering layers of defense. What's wrong? Transcending the heavenly tribulation to break the doomsday disaster. Suddenly, Su Fang saw some fragments of the doomsday disaster falling from the sky, forming the shape of an undying tortoise. At first, he thought it was an undying tortoise, but in the next second, he found that it wasn't an undying tortoise, but a dragon tortoise spirit that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Defy to become an immortal, follow to become a mortal. I want to break out of my mortal body and walk out of the mortal realm. No one can stop me. He used a large amount of fire cloud fist aura to attack the dragon tortoise spirit formed by the fragments of the doomsday disaster. Puff, puff. The dragon tortoise spirit was shattered, and more fragments fell around him. The fragments of the dragon tortoise spirit also fell around him. Roar! Impressively, a ruthless cry came from somewhere. Behind the shattered dragon turtle spirit, a huge dragon turtle spirit suddenly appeared. It stepped on the surging river and floated in the water with its mouth wide open. The dragon turtle spirit suddenly opened its mouth and said, "Kid, this fish beak river is my territory. I let you escape last time. This time, Grandpa Turtle is going to eat you. You're going to stop me from stepping onto the path of cultivation again. Watch how I'm going to cut off your turtle shell." Upon seeing the dragon turtle spirit speaking, Su Fang was furious. One had to know that the dragon tortoise spirit had stopped him at the Fishbeak River and almost caused him to die in the river. Since he had encountered it today, he would definitely kill it. He punched out a sky full of fist techniques, causing the river around the dragon turtle spirit to shatter bit by bit. Then, he punched again at lightning speed, striking the undying turtle spirit. Suddenly, an indescribable explosion occurred above him. The light from the explosion was actually sand, yellow sand. Su Fang was slightly startled. He didn't know what kind of power would appear. He released his defenses and floated in the yellow sand world formed by the explosion. Crack! While waiting, he kicked something under his feet. When he looked down, he saw that it was a few sets of bones under his feet. He had kicked them all over the place. When he looked up again, he saw a heavenly pillar in front of him. Touch the heavenly gate. I, Su Fang, don't believe that no one has ever climbed this heavenly pillar, ascended the heavenly gate, and become a disciple of Tianmen province. Others can't do it, but I, Su Fang, can definitely do it. I want to prove it to Grandpa. I can't let Su Xiaolong, Su Yi, and the others look down on me. Only by becoming a cultivator and cultivating in Tianmen province can I find the family's lost weapon, clear my father's name, and strengthen the family. Su Fang looked at the heavenly pillar. Suddenly, countless memories of his childhood surged in his heart. Countless people mocked and ridiculed him, saying that he was a jink. They blamed him and his father for all of the family's misfortune and decline. He wanted to change all of this. He wanted to change his own path by himself. He rolled up his sleeves and used his 5 fingers to tightly grab the vines. He bit his teeth bit by bit and climbed towards the heavenly pillar that he couldn't see the end of. Save me! Suddenly, a figure fell from the side. There was another bang. It was a living person who fell to the ground alive. His body was wrapped in soaring snakes, full of snake venom, and his skin was rotten. Su Fang looked up. Above the heavenly pillar, there were countless cultivators climbing the heavenly pillar. They held sharp swords and kept fighting with the soaring snakes that climbed down. From time to time, there were cultivators who couldn't hold on and fell from the sky, dying on the spot. Zzz. When Su Fang caught up with these people, he just felt his whole body was weak. Suddenly, a few soaring snakes swam quickly from the surroundings. They stood up half of their bodies and opened their mouths to bite him with their poisonous fangs. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, he quickly swung his sword and forgot everything. Su Fang only wanted to get rid of the soaring snakes, surpass everyone, climb the heavenly pillar, and touch the heavenly gate. He didn't know how many days and nights he fought. Su Fang was exhausted. He grabbed the vines with one hand and a sharp sword with the other. There weren't many cultivators left. Most of them had failed and fell to the ground. Against the heavenly tribulation, a cold wind blew. It turned out that it was the disciples of Tianmen province who were circling around him on giant eagles. They seemed to be talking to him. The giant eagles brought gusts of cold wind, making him tremble. He even seemed to have turned into wood and didn't respond. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a large number of soaring snakes pounced on him again. He gritted his teeth and killed the soaring snakes recklessly. A few more people fell from the surroundings. Another person seemed to be talking around him. Who was it? At such an important time, they actually came to disturb him. It shouldn't be the cultivators of Tianmen province hovering in the air around him. He couldn't care so much. He had to get rid of the soaring snakes first. He still couldn't see the heavenly pillar, nor could he see the last cultivator. The last cultivator seemed to be a little affected. He held a long spear, but he also fell to the ground. He looked again and saw an army of soaring serpents rushing towards him. There were so many of them that it was as if countless soaring serpents had formed a huge wave. Puff puff puff, he swung his sword and cut off a large number of snake heads. However, the soaring snakes suddenly became powerful. The snake heads that were cut off suddenly opened their mouths and bit Su Fang's arms, legs, and hands while he was unprepared. The other soaring snakes saw the opportunity and surrounded him. They bit him with their bloody mouth. The pain and despair brought about by fear made his whole body powerless. His left hand loosened, and he fell from the heavenly pillar surrounded by countless vine snakes. Su Fang, you are just an ant. How can you climb the heavenly gate? No one can do it. You, Su Fang, can't do it. Suddenly, he seemed to see the heavenly gate. He vaguely saw familiar faces laughing at him. Su Fang was in pain. He even saw his hands being bitten off by the soaring snake. His legs were also bitten off. Moreover, he was surrounded by a nest formed by the soaring snake. He was about to fall into the snake nest and be eaten by countless soaring snakes. And was born. Losing consciousness on the verge of death, Su Fang heard another voice. Nothingness reverberated in his mind. Who is it? I'm going to die. We were right. No one has ever been able to climb the heavenly gate. No one has ever succeeded. Even my Su Fang can't do it. I'm a jinx. I'm a cripple. It's because of me that my family, my father, and my grandfather suffered. I should disappear. I'm just a piece of trash that can't do anything. Looking at the distant heavenly pillar, Su Fong knew that he had failed to touch the heavenly gate. It was a complete failure. Reality had proven that he was just a piece of trash. What was laughable was that he still thought of himself as someone important. He thought that the world was his and that he could get whatever he wanted. The end of cultivation is the shore of life. When one reaches the shore, one's mind will be stimulated, and one will suffer the torment of 10,000 tribulations. Even if one falls, it is only a rest. Even if one spends one's entire life, one must continue on the path of cultivation without regret. Suddenly, a voice rang out in his muddle-headed state, defying calamity and rebirth. His consciousness was about to disappear, but that voice had not disappeared. Suddenly, a majestic voice that sounded like a bolt from the blue suddenly exploded from the depths of his heart and mind. Born against the calamity. Su Fong, who was in the snake nest, suddenly felt strength in his body. When he opened his eyes again, the snake nest in front of him and the ferocious soaring serpent army suddenly turned into bubbles. The heavenly pillar also gradually disappeared. What replaced it was countless fragments of the heavenly tribulation and countless thunderous roars. Defying tribulation. Su Fong suddenly realized and clenched his fists. That's right, I'm transcending the tribulation. I'm not in the Tianmen province of the past. I'm now in the great world. What Tianmen province? It has long become a thing of the past with the Zhuo Tianjie. I've already surpassed the heavenly gates, sacred emperor. Boom, boom. A large number of doomsday natural disasters, following the release of the defense created, finally carried out a great collapse. Su Fong's eyes gradually turned from blurry to hale and hearty. Fortunately, he had condensed a large number of defenses before in order to fall into the illusion tribulation and not be able to resist the great tribulation. Illusion tribulation, what a terrifying illusion tribulation. I don't even know how to enter the illusion tribulation. It trapped me in the illusion of leaving my hometown and stepping into Tianmen province. He felt a wave of lingering fear. Now that he thought about it, the experience in the illusion tribulation seemed very real, as if he had just experienced it. It was bloody. It was too real. This was the terror of the illusion tribulation. Su Fong wiped his cold sweat. Fortunately, my primordial spirit is strong. My Tao heart and will persevered, constantly shouting and protecting my mind. When I fell into the illusion tribulation and finally collapsed, I woke up in time. Otherwise, when I fell into the illusion tribulation and the heavenly tribulation disappeared, my primordial spirit would also be destroyed. Life and death were indeed on the line. Fortunately, he was prepared. At this moment, looking at the doomsday natural disasters again, everything had disappeared. Only the remnants of the collapse were left. The heavenly tribulation was dissipating. As soon as he sat down cross-legged, his body welcomed the impact, and his entire body began to advance to the second calamity. His body shook with rumbling sounds. At this realm, there were still many impurities in the placenta. He enjoyed the impact. Although it was painful, this pain was bliss. He pinched his fingers and said, "There is still the second illusion tribulation. This illusion tribulation is already so terrifying, the next one will definitely be even more terrifying. During this period of time, I must make preparations and use the supreme power of my primordial spirit. Once I fall into the illusion tribulation, I can call out to my mind at all times and shatter the illusion tribulation. Brother, congratulations on reaching the second calamity." Bai Ling suddenly flew over from another direction. It turned out that after this period of cultivation, Bai Ling had become stronger. His strength had definitely surpassed Desolate? Invasion Value Map Pile? Umbrella. there are still 2 more calamities. At that time, I will reach the threshold of life and death. If outsiders saw this scene, they would definitely think that Su Fang was crazy. How could a human have such a good relationship with the big goblin and not be afraid of the big goblin's sneak attack and dying? Half a month later, everything calmed down and welcomed the second calamity realm. Every time he breathed, he could absorb a large amount of heaven and earth essence. He swallowed immortal pills and immortal fruits and returned to the mountain range to cultivate with everyone. Chapter 881. After about 5 years of cultivation, Su Fang and Green Feather King once again rode on their swords and flew towards the depths of the Yuan Fortune world. They gradually left the Valley of the Abyss. In order to save time, the 2 of them rushed towards the nearest immortal realm. Su Fang planned to use the portal to go to the Spirit 6 immortal realm. Recently, he had obtained the corpses of 2 fiends, some black sea stones, and some great world resources from the small world. It was just enough for him to travel through the immortal world in the Yuan Lu Great World. If he relied on flying alone, it would take him hundreds of thousands of years to reach the Jianwu Villa. Not long after, the 2 of them successfully arrived at an immortal realm. Longevity Immortal World. At the edge of the Yuan Fortune Great World was a small immortal world. Although it was a small immortal world, there were countless immortals and various factions within. The Ghostface sect and the 10,000 Victorious sect also had factions within. Su Fang spent most of his immortal stones on shuttling. After all, in the Great World, shuttling was extremely luxurious. Even virtual immortals did not have the financial resources to use shuttling. Fortunately, there were no mishaps along the way. After half a month of traveling, when the formation stopped, they were already in a huge celestial realm. Spiritual 6 Immortal World. Although this immortal world was not comparable to the White Cloud immortal world in the Yuan Fortune Great World, it was still considered a first-rate immortal world. There were many cultivation factions and clans in it. Su Fang and Green Feather King were like country bumpkins entering a city. In the Spiritual 6 Immortal World, there were all kinds of demon immortals and evil sect experts, but most of them were righteous immortals. This was especially true for all sorts of resources, such as Dao artifacts. The Dao artifacts sold by the Merchant Association were far superior in quality to the Astrolabe Immortal Sword, the Spiritual Camel Immortal Cauldron, the Mini-Universe Immortal Pot, the Waning Moon Scissors, the Violent Lion Tooth, and other Dao artifacts. As for Dao artifacts like the Soul Sword Heaven Lord and the Elemental Suppression Demon Transmutation Heavenly Book, they were also rare treasures in this great world. Moreover, the price of a Dao artifact was simply too shocking. A slightly better Dao artifact was worth tens of times, almost 100 times, more than the shuttle door. It could be said that if Heaven Lord Soul Sword was sold, Green Feather King would instantly become a rich man in the Spirit 6 Immortal World. Originally, he wanted to rest well in the Spirit 6 Immortal World or by some resources, such as resources that could help him cultivate the power of the world. However, he was embarrassingly short of money, so he had no choice but to leave the Spirit 6 Immortal World and rush to the Jianwu Villa, which was located in the middle of a few immortal worlds and not far from the immortal world. Su Fang also began to understand Jianwu Villa. This was because he had seen a chamber of commerce in the Spirit 6 celestial realm that was controlled by the Jianwu Villa. He heard that the Jianwu Villa was also a cultivation force and also recruited disciples. However, what was different from other sects was that the disciples here were either cultivating or refining treasures, especially flying swords. This was exactly what Su Fang wanted. He was planning to upgrade the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd, the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda, and the Starry Daylight Sword into Dao artifact. He didn't know how to do so he could enter the Jianwu Villa and rely on the Hua clan. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. White fog covered the desolate land. Su Fang took out the map and compared it with the map. Green Feather King then kept the Heaven Monarch's soul sword and said, "Kid, I better enter the 6 Daos Pagoda. Once we reach the Jianwu Manor, it's best for you to deal with it alone. If there are any unforeseen circumstances, this king can help you in the dark." "That's good as well. Senior is more cautious." He activated the 6-layered Xian Guang and sucked Green Feather King into it. Su Fang was left alone. He crossed a vast frozen plateau in front of him. Deep in it was the famous Jianwu Villa in the Yuan Lu Great World. The frozen plateau was also a natural barrier. It was cold all year round, and ordinary immortals couldn't cross it. Some ferocious demon immortals also appeared there. Su Fang tried his best to conceal himself. He activated the flaming cloud wings and activated the Tao artifact's divine aura. He quickly crossed the white fog in midair. In a short while, he saw the icy plain below. It was indeed shocking. It was like an ice giant entrenched there. There were also some forests in the depths, and some powerful demon aura was circling there. Fortunately, Su Fang's skills were extraordinary. He tried his best to conceal his aura and avoided the demon aura that rose in midair. After 6 hours, he finally crossed the icy plain. As expected, he felt a familiar sword aura in front of him. It came from the towering mountain ridges in the depth. Strange. Some of the sword aura is very similar to Green Lotus Sword Sect's aura. Even the sword I gave Sun Er from Green Lotus Sword Sect seems to be the same as the sword aura in front. It seems that the ascenders of Green Lotus Sword Sect have all come to Jianwu Villa. There are also experts who have cultivated here and passed some sword techniques to Wu Tan World through some ability, so that the disciples of Green Lotus Sword Sect can grasp them. It was not unfamiliar at all. Staring at the mountain ridges in the vast expanse, Su Fang quickened his pace and became even more cautious. When he was close to the misty world in front of the mountain ridges, he sensed hundreds of wills gathering from the surroundings under the detection of his great perfection ability. Obviously, it was Jianwu Villa's unfathomable immortal world barrier. This barrier was so high that immortals like Su Fang couldn't sense it for the time being. In an instant, a layer of distorted immortal light suddenly overlapped in the air in front of him. 2 immortal wills slowly formed. The villa is an important place. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. Su Fang floated and stopped. He looked at the 2 wills with explosive power that could kill them instantly. He cupped his fists and said, "I hope to meet the immortals of the villa's Hua lineage." Hua lineage? "You're talking about my dojo, Yunhua Mountain." One of the immortal wills slightly focused. "If you have something to say, say it. Yunhua Mountain is an important dojo. I can pass on your message." Su Fang said, "I'm Carefree True Demon, an ascender from the lower realm. I once met a celestial lord named Holly, who died tragically in the lower realm. I happened to get an immortal talisman left behind by the celestial lord, so I came here from the Ascension Pool, hoping to pass the immortal talisman to the force behind the celestial lord." Holly. So he went to the lower realm and died. The 2 immortal wills were shocked and looked at each other. So they know about Holly. This is easy, Su Fang thought. Although it's very risky for me to come to Jianwu Villa, there are risks everywhere in the Great World. Going to the Xianao Great World, where 7 stars and Celestial Master Leng Xian are, or the Deqian Immortal World is also dangerous. Even if danger comes, I'm confident that I can find a way to survive. Path after all, he had to break out. Seeing that the 2 immortals seemed to be communicating, Su Fang began to plan for any dangers and troubles that he might encounter. Give us the immortal talisman, then wait again. As for whether Yunhua Mountain wants to see you or not, that's their business. One of the wills suddenly shot out an immortal light. Thank you, Celestial Lord. Su Fang took out the immortal talisman. The immortal light disappeared with a whoosh. The 2 wills were still waiting in the distorted light, not allowing Su Fong to take a step forward. Pew pew. 1 hour later. In the distorted Xian Guang world, an immortal light suddenly came from the sky. There was an immortal on top of it. This person's aura was very obvious. Su Fong used his perfected ability to sense it and found that this person's aura was very similar to Holly's life aura. This person must be an expert from Yunhua Mountain of Jianwu Villa, the Hua family. When this person came, the two wills suddenly disappeared. The air was suddenly cut open. A middle-aged man in plain blue clothes, his long hair fluttering, stared at Su Fong for a moment. As expected, you're a cultivator from the lower realm, Wu Tan world. Su Fong hurriedly introduced himself. Junior is the free and unfettered true devil from Wu Tan world. I'm a loose cultivator of the demonic path. The man in plain clothes asked. I'm Holly's clansman and also his brother. He went to the lower realm and suddenly died like this. I want to know who killed him. I'm not familiar with Senior Immortal Holly at all. It was outside Wu Tan world that I suddenly saw him with an immortal. That immortal also came from Wu Tan world. I heard that he was related to Green Lotus Sword sect, called Seven Star Child. Su Fong played a trick and put on an honest and humble appearance in front of the man in plain clothes. At that time, I saw Senior Immortal and Seven Star Child seem to be leaving Wu Tan world, but for some reason, Seven Star Child suddenly attacked Senior Immortal. He stabbed his sword into Senior Immortal's heart and used poison to corrode Senior Immortal's body. Seven Star Child disappeared in the galaxy alone. When Junior got close to Senior Immortal's body to take a look, there was only a pile of ashes and this immortal talisman left. Seven Star Child, the vertical lines on the temples of the immortal in plain clothes suddenly stood up. Later Junior learned that Seven Star Child had ascended to a great world more than 100,000 years ago. It seems to be some immortal AO great world. And before he ascended, he had a good relationship with Green Lotus Sword sect and the Realm Lord of Wu Tan world. I just don't know why he wanted to kill Senior Immortal Holly. Then when you saw Holly, you didn't see anything else. Anything else? Su Fong frowned, not knowing what to do. Think about it carefully. Since you came here from the lower realm, my Hua family will not treat you unfairly. The immortal in plain clothes suddenly turned sideways and pointed to the mountain ridge in the depths of Jianwu Villa. This is a great force in a great world. Many immortals dream of stepping into this place. Junior remembers now. Unexpectedly, as soon as the immortal finished speaking, Su Fong put on a snobbish face and hurried to the front of the immortal. I seem to have heard Senior Immortal's last thought. He said something about the divine image jade annulus being in Seven Star Child's hands and nothing else. The divine image jade annulus is in Seven Star Child's hands. The immortal in plain clothes' eyes shone brightly. He smiled coldly and looked at Su Fong. My villa is not short of disciples for the time being, but we need a sword slave to guard the sword furnace. Are you willing to stay in my Yunhua mountain? Sword slave, I'm willing. Smart. Although you are an ascender, you can't be one of those outstanding ascenders. At least you have this identity. I can easily let you step into Jianwu Villa. Remember, my name is Hua1. I am Hua Li's elder brother. After smiling mysteriously, Hua1 waved his hand. A shocking aura controlled Su Fong and brought him deep into the barrier shackles of the ocean. Suddenly, one step away, the mountain ridge in front of him was extremely clear. There was not only one mountain ridge, but one after another. They were like inverted earth spikes that drilled out from the ground and were about to reach the sky. When he saw the mountain ridge, he should have reached the periphery of Jianwu Villa. Suddenly, two immortals flew over. One of them looked at Su Fong. Senior Brother Hua, this is an outsider. This person is the carefree true devil who ascended from the lower realm. Coincidentally, the sword furnace in my Yunhua mountain failed to protect the furnace and was punished to death. This person is suitable to become the sword furnace. In the future, stay in my Yunhua mountain. I'll have to trouble the two of you to record it. Huowen cupped his fists politely to the two immortals. Since Yunhua mountain directly wants him, I will record it. Senior brother, take care. The two immortals politely sent Huowen off. Su Fang controlled his aura and flattered Huowen. Immortal sovereign, you are so powerful. Even the immortals here are afraid of you. Yunhua mountain must be even more powerful. In Jianwu Villa, only the elders have the qualifications to own a mountain, a sect, and a villa. My Hua clan's ancestor is the elder of Jianwu Villa. He controls millions of disciples. Who dares to disobey him? It was probably Su Fang's flattery. It was done well and was very knowledgeable. Huowen's white robe suddenly moved. He stood with his hands behind his back. In front of Su Fang, he was like a majestic mountain. Chapter 882. Su Fang struck while the iron was hot and tried to curry favor with Immortal Huowen. Immortal supremacy. Did all the ascenders of the Green Lotus Sword sect from the Wu-Tan realm ascend to the Jianwu Villa? Most of them ascended to the Yuan Great World and came to the Jianwu Villa like you did. However, unlike you, when they ascended to the Yuan Great World, my Yunhua Mountain would send people to personally receive them in Lifter City and bring them here unharmed. As for the other ascenders of the Green Lotus Sword sect, they would also accidentally go to other places. More than half of the ascenders from the Wu-Tan realm ascended to the Yuan Great World, and a portion of them joined my Yunhua Mountain. Then I understand why Seven Star Child is not in the Yuan Great World. That's right, I also thought of an immortal called Huang Yuran. He seems to be an expert who ascended from the Green Lotus Sword sect in the past. He also perished. Yes, I heard that he was snatching a peerless Tao artifact called the Immortal Jia Gate. In the end, he was killed by other immortals from the lower realm. Immortal supremacy Huang Yuran is also in Yunhua Mountain. Yes, Huang Yuran is also in the villa. He is considered an ordinary disciple. After ascending for tens of thousands of years, his aptitude was not bad at first, but later on it became ordinary. Huowen answered calmly. The latter could also tell that Yunhua Mountain only cared about the Hua family. They did not care about the Green Lotus Sword sect or the immortals who ascended from the lower realm. Su Fang bent his body again. I will follow immortal supremacy in the future and serve immortal supremacy well. You are smart and sensible. Don't worry, I will not mistreat you as long as you do your job well. I will work for you. When I become stronger and get what I want, I will use you to deal with Seven Star Child. I will also obtain the method to improve my Dharma treasures. Will I still need to listen to you? Especially Huang Yuran, an immortal who has been cultivating here for tens of thousands of years. Even his death is not worth mentioning in front of someone like you. What kind of ant am I? After a series of false pretenses, he was scheming to the extreme. First, he wanted Huowen to subconsciously think that he was easy to raise. Then, it would be time for Su Fang to leave after getting everything. Huowen was not an ordinary person. He was not an immortal. He was not an immortal supremacy. He was born and grew up in the Great World. He had experienced supremacy in scheming. The only thing he could never calculate was that Su Fang was not an ordinary ascender. After crossing the mountain ridge, there was actually a huge villa at the peak of each mountain ridge. There was a lot of sword will being released around the villa, and sword chi was intertwined in the depths of the mountain ridge. There were about 30 mountain ridges, and each mountain ridge towered into the clouds. The area was also quite astonishing. Flying into a mountain ridge near the center, the villa below was indeed an ordinary building. Then, within this villa there were probably countless worlds. This is my Yunhua Mountain. It's under the control of the Hua clan. It's one of the Jianwu Villa's training grounds. In midair, Huo slowly approached with Su Fang. From time to time, spirit fog and spirit qi would surge out of the villa. Huo continued, Yunhua Mountain looks very ordinary, but it's actually a huge immortal array. Inside it is a cosmic cave abode that can accommodate more than 10,000 disciples. My Yunhua Mountain also controls more than 10,000 disciples. 10,000 people. How could there be tens of thousands of people in such an ordinary villa? Landing in front of the gate of the manor, there was a square with clouds and mist surging around it. There were strange stones of all shapes and sizes in the surroundings. Senior Brother One. Arriving in front of the gate, two immortals from the void immediately appeared and bowed to Huo. Huo just nodded slowly and waved his hand, flying into the gate with Su Fang. Whoosh! After passing through a white cloud, a huge sword furnace appeared in front of them. It was 1,000 feet tall, and there was no fire. It felt like a statue. This was a huge hall that was 3 li wide. Other than the huge sword furnace, there were many sword furnace-like doors around it. There were about 30 to 40 of them. At this moment, some immortals flew past the hall and nodded to Huo when they saw him. Su Fang felt that Huo's cultivation was not too shocking. But here, most of the immortals were very polite to him. It seemed like there was only one reason. It was because his surname was good. Huo brought Su Fang to the back of the sword furnace. There were many neat sword-shaped chairs. Huo sat for a while, and after a while, 2 immortals flew in from the side of the sword furnace. Green Lotus Sword Sect and Wu Tan Realm's World Aura. He secretly glanced and released his senses. He saw 2 men around 30 years old flying over. One of them released a very familiar aura of Green Lotus Sword Sect. The other released an even more familiar aura of Wu Tan Realm. Clearly, one of them was an ascender of Green Lotus Sword Sect. The other was a former realm lord of Wu Tan Realm. These 2 people's cultivation and strength are obviously much higher than Huang Yuran. They should have ascended for about 100,000 years. Su Fang secretly thought. He glanced at Huo again. It seemed like this person wanted to prove that his words were somewhat credible. The 2 immortals landed and immediately bowed to Huo politely. Senior Brother One. Huo nodded and also cupped his fists. Junior brothers, this is the unfettered true devil who also ascended from Wu Tan Realm. He mentions 7-Star Child. Do you 2 have any impression of him? Demonic Tao Cultivator. That immortal with the aura of a world lord released his godly might and directly suppressed Su Fang with a suppressive force. Powerful, but you can't find out my secret. Su Fang didn't expect to release his aura like this. He was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. Junior Brother Tianyuan, how is it? Huo looked at the man who had the former Wu Tan Realm's world power and asked. The man withdrew his shackles. He is indeed from Wu Tan Realm. His true qi contains the same world aura as mine. Huo nodded. Do you know 7-Star Child? The immortal named Tianyuan said. I've met him before. Back then, his master was also a cultivator of the same generation as me. We had a good relationship. Later, after both of us ascended, 7-Star Child and I became closer in the Wu Tan Realm. When I ascended, I asked 7-Star Child to take care of Green Lotus Sword Sect. After all, in a small world, everyone will see each other frequently. Senior Brother One, what happened to 7-Star Child? Huo's expression turned cold. Unfettered True Devil said that he killed my little brother Holly in the lower realm. Huang Yuran also died. If it really was 7-Star Child, we have to find him no matter what. 7-Star Child killed Junior Brother Huang. The other immortal was an ascendant of Green Lotus Sword Sect, and Huang Yuran was also from Green Lotus Sword Sect. He was shocked. Junior Brother Huang. The immortal named Tianyuan immediately nodded coldly at this immortal. 7-Star Child killed Senior Apprentice Brother Hua and Huang Yuran. This person deserves to die. Yes, he should be killed. The immortal quickly nodded, but then he looked at Su Fang. I'm the sect master of Green Lotus Sword Sect from 100,000 years ago, Wang Yuehai. You said you saw 7-Star Child kill Senior Brother Huo. Can you condense 7-Star Child's appearance? The immortal named Tianyuan looked at Huowen. Senior brother, Junior Brother Wang also wants to confirm this matter. We really can't let 7-Star Child go. Okay. Huowen nodded in agreement. At this time, the three of them looked at Su Fang. Under their gazes, he began to use his immortal energy to condense immortal marks. 7-Star Child's figure gradually became 1 foot tall, and he floated above Su Fang's hands. It really is 7-Star Child. Wang Yuehai was shocked. Junior Brother Yin, is it him? Huowen looked at Tianyuan. Tianyuan was also shocked, but he quickly concealed it. It's the 7-Star Child. He was close to me in the past, and I know what he looks like very well. This giant is so evil that he harms Senior Brother Huo and Junior Brother Huang. We must take his head. Huowen nodded, killing intent surging out of him. Good. You can take care of unfettered True Devil for now. In the future, you'll be in charge of guarding the sword furnace. Immortal Sovereign, I'm not going to follow you. Su Fang, who looked like a weak chicken, was dumbfounded and looked pitifully at Huowen. Senior brother has a lot of things to do, so how could he have time to take care of you? Come with us. The immortal called Yin Tianyuan's voice was like thunder. He made Su Fang vomit blood on the spot, and then he returned the greeting to Huowen. Wang Yuehai released his control power and controlled Su Fang to leave the hall and return to the door of the sword furnace. I had Huoli follow Huang Yuran to find the divine image Jade Annulus in the lower realm, but 7-Star Child interfered. The divine image Jade Annulus's ability allows my Huo family to easily find the quality and flaws of Flying Sword. Such a wondrous Tao item is definitely something my Huo family must obtain. Huowen stood up and angrily left. Sword furnace door. Su Fang passed through the door under Yin Tianyuan and Wang Yuehai's control. There were actually more than 10 sword furnaces floating in front of him. Each sword furnace was separated by a certain distance. Below the sword furnaces were piles of special furnace flames that burned a type of flame immortal stone. Secretly sensing everything, Su Fang had a discovery. Many immortals have the aura of the Green Lotus Sword Sect and the Wu Tan realm. It seems that almost all of them in this space are ascenders from the lower realm of the Wu Tan realm. Wang Yuehai's thunderbolt suddenly appeared above Su Fang's body. Stay here obediently and don't go anywhere. For an ant like you, if you step out of here and touch the barrier, you'll die. That's especially true for Devil Path cultivators. Yes. Su Fang could only stand around the sword furnace and wait. However, he was secretly listening to what Wang Yuehai and Yin Tianyuan were saying as they walked forward step by step. Brother Wang, it was really dangerous just now. Didn't you see it? Sigh, 7-Star Child has a good relationship with you and me. We are almost brothers. Naturally, my first thought was to stand on 7-Star Child's side. Who knew that 7-Star Child could actually kill Huoli? So, although Huoli is trash, Huowen is very powerful. He is also a member of the Huo family after all. A trash has a higher status than you and me. If you had helped 7-Star Child at that time, you would still have a chance to live in the future. Thank you for reminding me in time, Brother Yin. You and I have been friends for many years, so it doesn't matter. However, 7-Star Child actually killed Huoli. He probably doesn't know about the situation in the Jianwu Villa. He doesn't know that you and I are controlled by the Huo family. If he knew, he wouldn't have rashly killed Huoli. It's hard to say. However, I can see that Huowen won't let 7-Star Child off. We also have no choice. Huowen will use you and me to kill 7-Star Child. Therefore, since there is no choice, 7-Star Child will die. You and I still have a chance to live. We must survive in the Jianwu Villa and become powerful people. The two of them gradually disappeared, but Su Fang heard every single word of their conversation clearly. It seems that the plan to frame Seven Star Child, and say that he obtained the divine image jade annulus, so that Huo must find him and kill him is going smoothly so far. Seven Star Child, I will not let you die easily. Su Fang withdrew his grand perfection ability and heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, after going from the lower realm to the ascension pool and going through so many difficulties, ascending to the Yuan Lu Great World was not a wrong decision. You are the new sword slave. Half an hour later, Wang Yuehai came over with a few immortals. Chapter 883. Su Fang stood straight and immediately turned around. Only one immortal was left behind. The other immortals followed Wang Yuehai to the other side. This immortal arrived in front of Su Fang. Faint sword shadows surged in his eyes, and some sword markings could be seen on his body. His gaze was like water splashing on Su Fang. You ascended from the lower realm, unfettered true devil. His body and mind shook as he felt the other party's powerful aura. It seemed that his future days would not be good. I also ascended from Wu Tan world. And, if not for this, I wouldn't waste my breath with you. I ascended for more than 20,000 years. My surname is Qing, my name is Yuanfeng. After the immortal introduced himself, he lazily gestured and brought Su Fang to the sword furnace. Since you came to Yunhua Mountain, guard the sword furnace well. Lord Qing Yuanfeng, is this sword furnace used to train the sword? I have never seen this kind of sword furnace in the lower realm. Su Fang followed behind Qing Yuanfeng. The sword furnace is naturally used to train the sword. Otherwise, it would be used to look ignorant. Yes, I am indeed short-sighted. I will have to trouble Lord Qing to guide me. Your mouth is very good at talking. You are not at a disadvantage. Qing Yuanfeng grinned and said, Many ascenders have a smelly and stubborn appearance when they first come to the outside world. They think that they stand out from countless mortal cultivators and are favored by the heavens. I am just a loose cultivator of the devil Tao. How do I know how much I am worth? That's good. These sword furnaces are not simple. They are both enchantments and divine ability spaces. Inside there are also sword furnaces like pill furnaces. In Jianwu Villa, the sword furnaces are the most important. On one hand, they are used to refine flying swords. On the other hand, they are used for disciples to cultivate. However, not everyone can enter. You have to be talented, have to make contributions, or only enter once every 100 years. So impressive. Of course, I have only entered the sword furnace a few dozen times. Each time, I cultivated for less than a day or 3 days. I can't compare to the disciples of the Hua family. Each time, they enter for 3 days or 10 days. The dozen sword furnaces here are all very important, especially the ones used for sword training. You are now a sword slave, so you have to guard the sword furnaces used for sword training. Qing Yuanfeng suddenly stopped in front of the 3 astonishing sword furnaces. These 3 sword furnaces were clearly different. Although there was an astonishing barrier on the outside, the interior was made of a magic treasure that was similar to bronze. The 3 sword furnaces were 3 Dao artifacts. It was a magic treasure that specialized in refining sword. Each of the 3 sword furnaces is refining 10 flying swords. In 100 years, only 30 flying swords will be refined. Your responsibility is to remember the handprints that this sovereign will send into your mind. The handprints will control the aura of the sword furnaces. It will allow you to determine the degree of refinement of the flying swords from the aura, temperature, movement, and other aspects, as well as the temperature of the fire, and so on. It just so happens that in these 100 years, I and the 100 disciples will be in charge of these 3 sword furnaces. You still have time to fuse with various immortal seals. Every day, other disciples will come to take a look at these 3 sword furnaces. As for the other sword furnaces, you don't have to worry about them. There are disciples of Yunhua Mountain cultivating in them. For the time being, you don't have any free space. Stay here and guard the 3 sword furnaces. Once the 3 sword furnaces successfully produce swords, the senior brothers above will officially give you various immortal seals and let you become an in-name disciple of the Jianwu Villa. You will be able to freely enter and exit Yunhua Mountain, or the other training grounds of the villa. Qing Yuanfeng suddenly turned around and asked sternly, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" Understood, this little one understands. In the face of such a powerful immortal, Su Fang could only listen and obey. Later, in front of Su Fang, Qing Yuanfeng released his primordial spirit and his aura, displaying handprints that were filled with immortal light. Each handprint had already broken away from any laws of the small world. For an immortal like Su Fang who had ascended, it was naturally unfathomable. Filled with such power, Su Fang, who only had 2 calamities, was unable to master it in such a short time. Fortunately, he had secretly used the demonic disintegration imprint, using the power of countless primordial spirits to memorize the immortal light handprints. This way, there were thousands of primordial spirits memorizing different handprints. In addition, Su Fang had also comprehended many handprints on the spot. As long as he spent some time, he would be able to understand all the immortal seals. Huowen really thinks I'm an ant. At first, he gave me some benefits, but in the end, he got what he wanted from me and threw me aside, leaving me to fend for myself. I, Su Fang, am not someone who can be casually used by others. In the future, I will get back at you one by one. Who knows if it's good or bad for me to end up like this and become a sword slave. Qing Yuanfeng, who had used the immortal seal once, quickly left. Su Fang stood in the middle of a dozen or so sword furnaces, and felt that his dream of ascension was only this small part of the world. His great world only had this small corner. Other ascenders could leave this sword furnace and go to the vast world outside Yunhua Mountain. This was no power, no backing. Su Fang was naturally not someone who accepted his fate, nor was he someone who would complain. He sat down cross-legged beside the 3 sword furnaces. Fortunately, the world was always fair. As a sword slave, he had no physical space and could only wander here. But who knew that such a place was actually filled with spiritual energy, with all kinds of sword intent and sword chi lingering around. This was simply a holy land for cultivation. Moreover, he found that ordinary disciples were not allowed to casually approach the sword furnace. Only those who had been in charge of sword practice for 100 years or those who had entered the sword furnace to cultivate could enter this area. This was also what Su Fang needed. He could cultivate here in peace. More importantly, he could also wantonly channel the spiritual energy around the sword furnace into the Su Ongwang 6 Paths Pagoda, allowing the big goblin to cultivate and become stronger together. Using the 9 Yang 9 transformations, the energy in his body began to surge, with the 15 Yang meridians as the main source, and the power of the Yang meridians was in the world fragment. Soon, he could wantonly absorb the energy around the sword furnace. In order to not attract the attention of others, he deliberately approached the sword furnace, thinking that the surrounding spiritual energy was gathered because of the sword furnace and not because he was an ascender. The spiritual energy also began to flow into the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda, allowing the 30,000 big goblin on the first floor and the dozen demon immortals on the second floor to cultivate together. The undying tortoise, green feather king, and Bai Ling were all frantically absorbing the spiritual energy. After maintaining this state, Su Fang also cultivated all kinds of divine abilities. The Heavenly Demon Book, Ethereal Truth, Limitless Tao Art, Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture were also what he wanted to cultivate. Of course, there was also the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke from the Night Spirit sect. He also let a portion of the spiritual energy flow into the True Demon Blood Plate, allowing the blood ghosts and true demons to cultivate inside. On the second day, Tring Yuanfeng indeed came to the 3 sword furnaces with a dozen or so immortals. Seeing Su Fang sitting obediently beside the sword furnace, they were all very satisfied. Fortunately, these people did not make things difficult for Su Fang. Qing Yuanfeng even gave Su Fang 3 immortal pills as if he was giving alms. Su Fang was really lacking in resources now. The immortal pills and immortal fruits he had collected had been consumed like flowing water ever since he came to the great world. Su Fang gave the 3 pills to the Undying Tortoise, Green Feather King, and Bai Ling. He had a powerful special constitution and the 9 Yang 9 transformations, so he did not need immortal pills. The 3rd day, the 4th day, Su Fang stayed beside the sword furnace just like that, not moving an inch. It seemed like he was afraid of Qing Yuanfeng and the other immortals, but in fact, he was cultivating crazily. Unknowingly, 3 years had passed. It seemed like a period of time, but 3 years to Su Fang was like opening his eyes dozens of times and then falling asleep again. It passed very quickly. I have more or less mastered the various immortal seals. Let me see how the 3 sword furnaces are doing. It will be of great help to improve my Dharma treasures in the future. His overall strength had increased. He felt that besides his realm, he was already a virtual immortal. In fact, he was still a mortal with an immortal body. He had already mastered the various immortal seals that Qing Yuanfeng had passed down. After activating the immortal seals, his hands and body could actually pass through the barrier outside the sword furnace and really come to the side of the sword furnace. Now I can absorb even more spiritual energy. This made Su Fang overjoyed. It turned out that he could get so close to the sword furnace after mastering the immortal seals. The immortals in the Jianwu villa probably didn't expect that a mortal, not even a virtual immortal, could move the supreme sword furnace. Not to mention virtual immortals, even immortals who were 100 times more powerful couldn't really see the sword furnaces. But who knew what would happen next? According to the immortal seals, after Su Fang used the immortal seals, he placed his hands outside one of the sword furnaces and sensed the movement, temperature coming from the sword furnace. He clearly sensed that there were 10 flying swords inside, and they were humming slightly. He didn't know how much energy there was inside the sword furnace. It felt like an energy world. Moreover, the sword furnace's quality was not bad. It was better than most Dao artifacts. According to the immortal seal's records, it will probably take more than 10 years for the 10 flying swords to be successfully refined. After sensing for a while, Su Fang was about to retract his power. Buzz! Suddenly, his right arm trembled. This feeling was similar to when he found the Dharma treasure fragment at Purple Chi Mountain. Because it came from the Purple Chi Dharma spirit. What's going on? Su Fangdao was shocked. He pressed his left hand on his right arm, and the Purple Chi Dharma spirit inside began to tremble. When he moved his right hand away, the movement was much smaller. Once he pressed his right hand on it, there would be a lot of movement. At that moment, the small universe immortal pot sent a voice transmission. Master, don't worry. This sword furnace doesn't have an essence spirit. It's difficult for such a specialized Dao artifact to have an essence spirit. Although the Jianwu Villa is considered a faction, it's far from a true major faction like the White Cloud Immortal Palace and many famous factions in the Great World. Only the Dao artifacts of those major factions can have an essence spirit. That's good. Then let me see what's wrong with the Purple Chi Dharma spirit. As long as the sword furnace didn't have an essence spirit, then no one would see what he was doing now. The other disciples wouldn't suddenly come here. If they really came, they would have already released their auras, as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know. He placed the 5 fingers of his right hand on the sword furnace's wall. Suddenly, the Purple Chi Dharma spirit in the depths of his right arm flashed to his palm like a bolt of purple lightning. Then, it stuck to his skin on the sword furnace's paper. Hiss! A faint cloud purple aura, like a strand of smoke, seeped out from the furnace and was directly absorbed by the purple chi dharma spirit under his skin. After absorbing it, Su Fang actually felt the purple chi dharma spirit in his right arm start to squirm. It was very active. This was the first time Su Fang had seen such a reaction from the purple chi dharma spirit after fusing with it. What was going on? Moreover, what was the cloud purple energy in the sword furnace? What was it? How could such a small amount cause the purple chi dharma spirit to have such a reaction? And through Su Fang's skin, he didn't know what kind of energy it was. It could only be said that it was a special kind of spiritual chi. He asked the small universe immortal pot, but it couldn't say. At that moment, there was no one beside him who could help him see what kind of energy it was. No, there was still one person. He activated the blood jade in his body, and his consciousness immediately entered the blood-colored space, arriving at the blood-colored prison. The blood-robed man Luo also felt Su Fang's arrival and revealed a tired smile. Every time you come, your essence spirit becomes stronger. This is the demonic Tao cultivator's demonic disintegration seal. Your Excellency has good eyesight. Su Fang was even more confident that he could get Luo to solve his doubts. Thus, he told him his reason for coming here. Luo Yun smiled lightly. You really found the right person. I know quite a lot about the world. Author's words. Tomorrow is National Day. Everyone, enjoy the 7 days of holiday. Chapter 884. He didn't expect Law to be so confident. Su Fang then told him about the mysterious purple energy from the sword furnace, hoping that Law would know where it came from. Law immediately said with a smile, "The sword furnace you're talking about is a magical treasure that human cultivators use to refine flying swords. It's a sword pool made of materials or barriers. Flying swords are the most commonly used magical treasures among humans. Most of them use flying swords to either fly, defend, or kill. If this sword furnace is a magical treasure, then after refining flying swords here for many years, the sword furnace will gather a kind of energy, which is the energy you want to know. This energy is called the Great Pregnant Purple Chi. Great Pregnant Purple Chi, was it the purple cloud power that came from the sword furnace?" Law continued, "You came from the lower realm, the cloud mortal realm, so you should have experienced a lot of condensing your gold core. When you condense your gold core in the vast core realm, your body will form a purple river. Once the purple river appears, it's a sign of condensing your gold core. The Great Pregnant Purple Chi is also a sign. The purple river is a sign that human cultivators are walking on the path of true cultivators, condensing their Tao heart and forming their gold core. The Great Pregnant Purple Chi is a sign that appears before a magical treasure is successfully refined. It's a very special kind of energy between heaven and earth, and it's indescribable. The Great Pregnant Purple Chi is very rare, but it's also very common. Every magical treasure will appear with it, so cultivators more or less know about it. It's just that the appearance of the Great Pregnant Purple Chi is very short, and it usually means that a magical treasure is about to be born and mature. Humans know very little about the Great Pregnant Purple Chi. In some ways, the Great Pregnant Purple Chi doesn't only appear when a magical treasure is successfully refined, but also when some spiritual items and spiritual treasures appear. It's called the Purple Chi. The Purple Chi is also called luck or omen, and is also a kind of spiritual chi. The appearance of the Purple Chi represents luck, and it means that there must be treasures there. When a cultivator encounters a treasure and obtains it, the whole process is called luck or fortune. Therefore, the Purple Chi represents luck. Whether it's the Great Pregnant Purple Chi or the Purple Chi, they're all related. The biggest difference is that they're mysterious and rare, and can't be controlled by humans. I didn't expect there to be such secrets. When Law seemed to have finished speaking, Su Fang exhaled a breath of cold air. The world was so big that he finally understood what it meant to be a multitude of living things. Great pregnant purple chi, purple chi. He was a mortal realm cultivator. When could he become an immortal like Luo who knew everything? He suddenly thought of something else, which was the purple chi Dharma spirit. Maybe Luo Ning knew its origin. Ever since he obtained the purple cloud Dharma spirit, perhaps only the mysterious woman in the ancient mirror knew what it was. No matter how many people he met, none of them knew its origin. In front of Luo, Su Fang said again, "I once obtained a magic treasure. It's called a magic treasure, but it's not really a magic treasure. It was passed down from my ancestor. Of course, my ancestor probably obtained this treasure by accident. It can absorb the faint purple energy of the sword furnace. A treasure that can devour the great fertility purple gas." Luo was startled. "That can't be. There are so many magic treasures in this world. I've seen them all. I know a little about any peerless Tao artifact. I even know about ancient magic treasures." After Su Fang heard this, he suddenly asked a question without thinking, "Do you know about the Xianjia Gate?" Xianjia Gate, Haha Law suddenly curled his lip. This expression. Luo laughed. "How long has it been since I heard of the Xianjia Gate?" As expected, he knew. This caused Su Fang to perk up his ears and listen carefully. Luo still had a smile on his face, as if he was trapped in the shackles of a prison. He was not afraid of pain and death. "The Xianjia Gate is an ancient Tao artifact. Are you deliberately testing me? Do you know everything?" I didn't mean that. Because in the lower realm, I accidentally encountered the Xianjia Gate. I was very curious about it, so I wanted to ask you. The Xianjia Gate is an ancient Tao artifact. Today, there are probably not many magic treasures like it. From the ancient times until now, how many changes have occurred in the world? Whether it's a mighty figure or an ancient magic treasure, they will all shatter and disappear." Luo gradually said with a sigh, "This world has existed for a long time that you can't predict. Naturally, there are countless life forms, races, countless magic treasures, and civilizations that have been passed down. The Xianjia Gate has already appeared in the ancient times. It's a peerless treasure close to a divine artifact, or even a divine artifact. You should know that there are these three kinds of magic treasures in the world. The Xianjia Gate is a Tao artifact that stands at the peak of the great world. Here, even a divine artifact can't suppress it. That's impossible. A divine artifact surpasses a Tao artifact." Su Fang was very surprised. "You come from a small world. Have you ever seen a Tao artifact or an immortal who can use all of their power in a small world?" "I haven't. When an immortal comes to the lower realm, his magic treasure can only be activated by 70 to 80%. The immortal's own strength can only be activated by 70 to 80%. That's right. That's why a small world can't defeat a great world. It's the weakest world, but it has never been destroyed." Do you know why? I don't know. In fact, there are many books and ancient records. It's just that you don't have the cultivation to come into contact with them. A small world seems weak in front of an immortal because it's the lowest level of the world. However, because a small world doesn't contain the power of a great world, an immortal can't use his true strength in a small world. But once an immortal uses up his strength, he can't recover it in a small world. The power of a small world is only suitable for mortals, not immortals. If an immortal can't find the power of a great world in a small world, then they can't come to the lower realm and destroy a small world. It's the same in a great world. Above a great world, there are tens of thousands of worlds. If a Tao artifact or a god descends, they should be able to dominate a great world. In fact, they're invincible in a great world. However, they're the same as an immortal going to a small world. In a great world, there's no power that a god can absorb. Every bit of power a god wastes in a great world loses, and they can't recover it in a great world. This is the law of the world, the law of the heavenly Tao. It's the law of the heavenly Tao that protects all living things in the world and maintains the order of the world. It allows the power of a small world, a great world, and tens of thousands of worlds to only belong to each world and each space-time. This is the reason why higher-level powers can't last long in lower realms. If there's no such law of the heavenly Tao, just think about it. Wouldn't any immortal be able to go to a small world and slaughter innocent mortals and destroy it? If a god comes to a great world, wouldn't they also be able to slaughter immortals in a great world? Wouldn't they be able to control a great world and trample it under their feet? He sneered and looked at Su Fang. Speaking of which, I believe you should have a new understanding of the world. Su Fang smiled. Speaking of which, I believe you have a new understanding of the world. Yes, I've seen immortals descend to the lower realms. Their strength is heaven-defying. But when they descend to the lower realms, they can't withstand the encirclement of a large number of mortal cultivators. In the end, they fall one by one. These words made Su Fang think of the scene when he killed Xian Daotian and Jingbei Emperor. This is also the reason why the Xianjia Gate is an ancient Tao artifact. It has boundless power in a great world. It's an existence you can't imagine. But this ancient Tao artifact actually appeared in a small world. Could it be that it's looking for its successor? Luo seemed to be talking to himself. Su Fang's eyes suddenly flashed. I also have a magic treasure here. It's a treasure that can devour the great fertility violet qi. I'll have to trouble you to take a look and see what kind of treasure it is. In front of Luo, Su Fang activated his right arm. At his wrist, the meridians suddenly turned into golden rays of light that emitted a shocking purple light. It's indeed not a magic treasure, but it has the aura of a magic treasure. Luo looked at the violet Qi Dharma spirit with a serious expression that he had never had before. After sighing, he was attracted by the treasure. Every minute and every second was very urgent for Su Fang. He was too clear about what kind of treasure the violet Qi Dharma spirit was. About an hour later, Luo gradually opened his mouth. This treasure is not simple. It's not a magic treasure, but it's a magic treasure. I've never seen it before. Su Fang's mood was as if he had just stepped out of a hot spring into a snowy land. However, it's not too difficult to unravel its secret. There are too many magic treasures in the world. No one knows how big the world is. Luo smiled again. This treasure, why can't it absorb the great fertility violet qi? Why is it a magic treasure? And why is it not a magic treasure? From these two aspects, it's not difficult to see the origin of the magic treasure. Su Fang seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He saw hope. Is that so? This treasure of yours is actually formed by absorbing boundless primordial violet qi. What does that mean? This treasure came from somewhere in the greater world, and it's an ancient artifact forging faction. That's because this treasure is formed from a large amount of primordial violet qi. It can't be formed from the violet qi released by a single magical treasure. It should be formed from the primordial violet qi released by thousands upon thousands of magical treasures. So the violet qi Dharma spirit is formed by countless great fertility violet qi. Yes, from the looks of its aura, it's filled with ancient primordial violet qi. It should have been born from an artifact refining power or an artifact refining grandmaster. This kind of treasure is rare throughout the ages. If there was such a treasure, I would have definitely heard of it or seen it. Its ability to absorb the primordial violet qi within the sword furnace is very good to prove this point. You are very lucky to be able to obtain such a treasure. I can be sure that it is a unique treasure in this world. Violet Qi Dharma Spirit. Hearing Law praise the Violet Qi Dharma Spirit, Su Fang was also very happy, but he still did not know where it came from. This treasure of yours should not be a whole. It is still missing a part. Otherwise, it can fuse with your body and make your body full of great fertility violet chi. Then you will become the only cultivator in this world who possesses and can control the great fertility violet chi. Law suddenly lowered his voice. You are unique. After you control it, no one knows what kind of ability it will bring to you. You should spend your energy and find all the treasures as soon as possible. At that time, you will become a saint. I will do my best. On the other hand, your violet chi dharma spirit can devour any great fertility violet chi, so don't waste this good opportunity to absorb the violet chi from the sword furnace. It can allow your body to possess the special power of the great fertility violet chi. Your luck can only be said to be too enviable, Law said with a calm and relaxed expression. Su Fang understood all of this. Although he did not know the true origin of the violet chi dharma spirit, he did have an idea. After thanking him, he left the blood jade space. Just as Law had instructed, he secretly urged the violet chi dharma spirit to slowly absorb the insignificant great fertility violet chi from the sword furnace. He did feel that there was a similar power in his body that was beginning to fuse with his body. Chapter 885. Jianwu Villa was going to suffer a huge loss this time. To make Su Fang a sword slave? Alright, Su Fang was not angry at all. But who knew that a sword slave with the least sense of presence could let Su Fang gradually understand the purple chi dharma spirit, and could even have the wonderful power of the great pregnant purple chi. There's so little great pregnant purple chi. A few days later. Originally, he could still intermittently absorb the great pregnant purple chi from the sword furnace. Although it was not much, it was like a wisp of smoke. But now, the sword furnace in front of him suddenly did not emit any purple chi. Right, since the great pregnant purple chi is a sign before a dharma treasure is born, doesn't it mean that a flying sword is about to be born in the sword furnace? He had almost forgotten this point, and had almost forgotten his own mission. A sword slave. Activating the immortal seal from Jianwu Villa, Su Fang began to sense the movements of the sword furnace from all aspects. At this time, the voice of mystic Luo came from the blood jade. When you absorb the great pregnant purple chi from the sword furnace in the future, you have to be careful. Generally speaking, if the great pregnant purple chi is continuously emitted, it means that the purple chi has been gathering inside the sword furnace for a long time. But if you absorb it from time to time, it means that a dharma treasure is being born. When you master this, you can tell how many flying swords are about to be born in the sword furnace. Very true. Indeed, it was the same as what Su Fang was thinking at this time. After sensing it, he remembered that when he absorbed the great pregnant purple chi, he slowly combined it with the movements of the sword furnace. He was sure that a flying sword was about to be born. So he activated the immortal seal and called for Qing Yuanfeng. About half a day later, a dozen immortals came slowly with Qing Yuanfeng. Boom! Who knew? While they were still absent-minded, there was a sudden vibration from the sword furnace. Good, a flying sword is being born. Qing Yuanfeng was overjoyed. Waving his arm, everyone immediately sped up and flashed into the sword furnaces. When they came to the 3 sword furnaces in the center, Su Fang was standing in front of one. The lid of the sword furnace was half open, and sword light was being released from it. Su Fang bowed to everyone. Everyone, according to the immortal seal, the immortal sword is about to be refined successfully. I didn't expect it to come so suddenly. Qing Yuanfeng and the group of immortals were in a good mood. The timing is just right. Stay here in the future, just like today. If anything happens, inform us immediately. One by one, they came to the front of the sword furnace and inspected it. Then, they floated in the air and took out colorful immortal swords. There were 7 in total. They were too beautiful and dazzling. Every single one of them had a transparent sword body. They were either blazing suns, sparkling and translucent, or heavy. Su Fong had seen artifact forging before, but he had never seen a Dao artifact being forged at such a close distance. Every flying sword was of high quality, much better than the Green Radiance celestial sword he had obtained in the lower realm. Its quality was about the same as the nation artifact Astrolabe's celestial sword. After waiting for a while, Yin Tianyuan, Wang Yuehai, and more than a dozen experts with extraordinary identities also arrived. They were the only ones who had the right to control the 7 flying swords. Qing Yuanfeng and the other disciples were taking credit for it. This had nothing to do with Su Fong at all. But luckily, after Wang Yuehai and Yin Tianyuan left, Qing Yuanfeng and the other immortals left behind a few ordinary immortal pills for Su Fong. Although they were ordinary immortal pills, they had unimaginable power for Su Fong and the Big Goblin. Then, they told Su Fong to guard the other 2 sword furnaces and pass down even more immortal seals to Su Fong. Okay, let me guard the sword furnace. Su Fong smiled as he sent those people off. Then, he went to the 2 sword furnaces and sat down cross-legged. He began to absorb the immortal pills and all kinds of spiritual qi in the sword furnace space. He and the Big Goblin continued to grow stronger. He was not in a hurry to break through. Actually, he should be able to break through and go through the tribulation. Then, he could step into the 3rd tribulation and become an immortal. But he could not enter the Jianwu Villa right now, so he could not go through the tribulation here. Now, he wanted to settle down. He did not expect that after cultivating in the mortal world for hundreds of years, he would come to the great world and have such an opportunity to settle down and cultivate. He wanted to cultivate the Tao of the Emperor, the bloody hell wolf smoke, the ethereal true interpretation, the limitless Taoist art, the illusory fire cloud, the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, and the 9 Yang 9 transformations. At the same time, he wanted to continue fusing with the Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda. Of course, this magic treasure had reached the true level of fusion with him. Unfortunately, he still had to make the final preparations and upgrade the magic treasure to a Tao treasure. His plan was to let the Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda pass the tribulation with him and become a Tao treasure the moment he stepped into the virtual immortal realm from the 3rd tribulation. I have to continue cultivating the bloody hell wolf smoke. Not only is it powerful, but it is also the key to dealing with the Night Spirit Hierarch and solving the problem of Mei Er's body. The Night Spirit Hierarch is not simple. I might meet them again in the great world. As he continued to settle down, he cultivated all kinds of qigong and divine abilities. If he continued like this, he would reach the level of an immortal in the great world. He was just 1 level away. He also began to activate his right hand, using the power of the purple qi Dharma spirit to absorb the primordial purple qi within the 2 sword furnaces. Just as Luo said, no one would have thought that a cultivator would absorb the faint purple qi released by a magic treasure. He did not know how useful the violet qi would be. Originally, he thought that he would continue to absorb the primordial violet qi in the sword furnaces. According to Luo, the sword furnaces had been around for a long time. There were countless magic treasures that had been successfully refined inside, and there were countless magic treasures that released the primordial violet qi. Then, a portion of the primordial violet qi would stay in the sword furnaces and gather together. The Su Fong would release the violet qi Dharma spirit to absorb the energy. It was a continuous absorption. But now, he was absorbing the primordial violet qi intermittently. According to his previous experience, the primordial violet qi meant that there was a flying sword in the process of being born. This time, he was not in a hurry to inform Qing Yuanfeng. When the intermittent primordial violet qi disappeared, he absorbed the primordial violet qi of the other sword furnace. He had also encountered this intermittent power. After a period of time, after he had absorbed it, he informed Qing Yuanfeng. This time, Qing Yuanfeng brought a group of disciples to wait here early. According to them, after 100 years of sword training, once he succeeded, he would be able to exchange it for 100 years of freedom to go out and train, search for fate, treasures, etc. Otherwise, he would have to stay in Jianwu Villa for 100 years. In these few years, Su Fang had seen many immortals that ascended from Wu-Tan world. Not only were there ascenders from Green Lotus Sword sect or world lords, there were also ascenders from other places in Wu-Tan world. But in Yunhua Mountain, the world lords from Green Lotus Sword sect or ascenders from Green Lotus Sword sect had a higher status than other ascenders. And the Hua clan was above ascenders like Wang Yuehai and Yin Tianyuan. For example, Hua Wen was an important person here. In less than 3 days, the sword furnaces began to rumble continuously. Immortal swords appeared one after another, causing the sword furnace space to shake. Not only did Su Fang see Hua Wen, he also saw many higher-ups of the Hua clan. Of course, Yunhua Mountain was also part of Jianwu Villa, so there were higher-ups with other surnames. Among them, there were also ascenders from the lower realms. After countless years of cultivation, they had become elites in Jianwu Villa. This time, there were more than 10 flying swords that appeared. The 3 sword furnaces still had a few flying swords that were still brewing, they still needed a period of time. Su Fang had to pay close attention to the 3 sword furnaces in the coming days. This was good. He could focus on absorbing the great pregnant purple qi from the 3 sword furnaces. One must know that the 3 sword furnaces had been created for a long time. The great pregnant purple qi could not be completely absorbed by him in a few years. The small universe immortal pot was also secretly absorbing large amounts of immortal qi from the sword furnace space. The flaming cloud spirit gourd, starry daylight sword, and Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda were also absorbing spirit qi. Starry daylight sword, you are actively absorbing the sword intent in the sword furnace space. All of a sudden, he found that the starbright sword was actively absorbing the sword intent and sword qi in the space of the sword furnace cauldron. The sword spirit said, "Master, this is a place to refine swords. If Little Star can absorb the sword qi inside the sword furnace, it will probably become a Dao artifact." Is that so? Directly absorbing the sword qi inside the sword furnace. The sword furnace was a space to refine flying swords. The spirit qi inside was definitely sword qi. If the starry daylight sword could really absorb it, it would definitely bring about a shocking change. Thinking about it, Su Fangda dared to activate the purple qi Dharma spirit, to see if it could let the sword qi inside the sword furnace out along with the great pregnant purple qi. In the end, because of the purple qi Dharma spirit's miraculous control of the great pregnant purple qi, it could actually make the great pregnant purple qi wrap around the sword qi essence inside the sword furnace and leave the sword furnace along with the great pregnant purple qi. Then, it entered his right arm. Su Fang let the starry daylight sword absorb the sword qi inside his right arm. Buzz buzz buzz, the starry daylight sword had long reached the peak of the royal grade. In the small world, Su Fang had also injected some immortal qi into it to allow it to adapt to the power of the large world. It was effective. After the starry daylight sword absorbed the sword qi essence of the sword furnace, it began to tremble shockingly. The layers of seals inside were all replaced by the sword qi essence. If this continued, the starry daylight sword would reach the level of a small world, but its formations and power would reach the level of a large world. He also saw it. In the space inside the sword, Little Star sat cross-legged in the center, constantly absorbing the sword qi essence from the sword furnace. Its aura began to transform from the mortal world to the immortal light of a large world. Little Star was very excited. "Master, the power you gave me is actually the condensed sword intent and sword qi of all kinds of flying swords. Little Star can now absorb it and condense its own power. It can transcend the mortal world and reach the level of a large world Tao artifact Tao spirit. Then, Little Star can be considered a half Tao artifact. As long as Master changes Little Star's body, Little Star will become a Tao artifact. It won't take long.